All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ron Delvaux at Mission Control here is monitoring the satellite uplinks as we speak.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am.
And Ron, at Mission Control, can you confirm or deny if we have uplink? Have we made contact with YouTube at this point, Ron?
It looks like we're green.
We just did.
Yeah, YouTube is on.
According to Ron Delvaux at Mission Control, we are live. Welcome, everyone, to CoCoTALK episode 78. And here's your intro.
79.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. Streaming live on YouTube and Roku, available as a podcast and enjoyed the world over. And now, here's your host. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to CoCoTALK episode 68, 78, 79, 89, 90, whatever we are. Hut. Play football. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the program, everybody. I am your host for today. My name is Grant Leedy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Stevie Stroh. I don't make enough money to be Grant Leedy. But we're here. We're live. We're on the air. We've got Ron Delvaux monitoring us live in Mission Control here. And so, Ron, how's the International Space Station holding up right now? You got things going there smoothly?
We are A-OK.
Okay, that's great.
I've got my tang and I'm all set.
He's got his tang. All right. It's good enough for the astronauts. It's good enough for Ron Delvaux.
That's right.
All right. We got a great show in store for you this week. So we're just going to jump in and say hi to the people who are on the panel with us right now. In the bottom right-hand corner, on the bottom of the planet of the Earth, but still within the sights of Ron Delvaux's Mission Control, we've got Nick Marentes in Australia. Good day, Nick.
Good day, everyone.
Somewhere in a basement, David Ladd is with us today. Hello, David.
Good day, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, and I hope everyone enjoys the show today.
We do too. It sounds like you're at a daycare, David. What's going on there? All right, we lost David Ladd. Ron Delvaux, can you see if we can fix that satellite uplink there?
I'm going to work on it right now.
Also with David, what's going on with the background noise?
It might be me.
I don't know. All right, anyways, take your time, David. It's fine. We'll wait.
It's McDonald's.
It's McDonald's. There we go. The mystery has been solved, everybody. So David's at McDonald's. All right, David. Also with us on the program, Jason, the CoCo Man Reichert, is with us. Hello, Jason. How are you?
Hey, riddled with technical difficulties, but I am here.
It wouldn't be an episode of CoCoTALK without him.
That's almost...
The train wreck has left the station. We've also got us from Jersey. Al Hartman's with us. Hey, Al, how are you?
Okay, and Jersey is still here.
Excellent. From sunny Southern California, that guy who made Zaxxon, Seve Bjork, is with us. Hello, Steve.
Hey there, everybody. You know, I did other games, too.
Z89.
Yeah, right.
Also with us, creator of Boomerang Mania, of Boyson Technologies, Mr. Richard Lorbieski is with us. Hello, Richard.
Hello, how are you?
We're doing fantastic. We've got our first of two resident Canadians on the program right now. Mr. D. Bruce Morris with us. How's it going, eh?
Hey, it's going great, eh?
All right, beauty. We've also got with us, I don't remember where you are, Brian. Brian Weasler's with us. How are you, Brian?
Very good. Coming here from Iowa.
Iowa. All right. That's where home of Captain James T. Kirk, right? Excellent. Special guest of the program, which we'll save the best for last here. All right, so we'll save the worst for not last, but we have another Canadian with us, Mr. L. Curtis Boyles with us. How's it going, eh?
Good day.
Hey, beauty. At Mission Control, making sure that are you the head of Space Force now? Ron Delvaux
I can't speak of what you it's not a thing I can divulge.
I believe we saw Air Force One leaving Arizona just recently as Ron Delvaux was appointed head of Space Force. Equal but different from the Air Force. We've got Space Force. Thank you, Ron. So
no charge.
Hey, and
Doing
our very special guest today, first time on the program, and our guest of honor today, Mr. Eric Crichlow. How are you today, Eric?
Good morning / afternoon, good people.
All right. Also in Arizona, so you're somewhat of a neighbor of Ron Delvos.
It's about a 50-mile difference.
Okay, you're closer than me, so
Yeah.
you got to go by and check it out. He's got a living museum of retro awesomeness there. So, and with
This
this,
afternoon.
with us in the live chat, Curtis Boyle was here saying, "Am I here early?" Nick Marotta says, "Oh, the advanced notice view, nice." Wayne Aaron was here saying, "Hi, everyone." Nick Marotta says, "Hi, Stevie." Al Hartman, "Hey, Hunter LTU is here." Nick Marotta, Al Hartman. Steve Bjork says, "Hello, everyone." Who else is here? Disney Saints fan is here, and Paul Fiscarelli of Long Branch Never also with us in the live chat. Hello, everybody in the live chat. All right, so before we move on to talk to Eric about his past, present, and future, did anybody else have a project update they wanted to tell us about? I think, Bruce, you had mentioned something.
Yeah. CoCo Forever, episode 8 is ready for download. I put out episode 7 last week.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't mean I got 9 down for next week, but
Okay.
the plan is to have it done by the end of October. So.
Okay, fall-ish, right? You started in spring-ish, you're going to end fall-ish?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So right now, for the past 2 weeks, you've averaged an episode per week.
Yeah. Good right now.
All right. And Nick Marentes, I know you've got a new blog post, so I figure we'll save that for the news and maybe make that a core dump discussion as well. Richard, we haven't had you on in a little bit. Everything good with you?
Oh, yeah. Everything's just dandy and tandy.
There we go. Anything new and exciting at Boomerang HQ?
No, I'm just making more Boomerang 2 meg boards, and I'm also trying to come up with revised documentation so people can take advantage of the external LED.
Richard, yeah, you put LED slots on, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it's an addition. It's new.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was just mentioning.
Yeah.
Well, see, Ron's got his satellite view of the universe right now, so he
There's a
knows
little
about
lag.
these things.
Goes to the satellite and comes back down.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Delvell in Mission Controls pointing out the obvious. Thank you, Ron. Back to you, Richard Lorbieski.
So anyway, yeah, those who had originally bought a Boomerang board, I'm actually shipping out replacements that will have the new LED extension, and it also supports a turbo light mode. So if you want to know how fast your CoCo is going, you can actually pre-program an indicator light on it as well.
Neat.
Did you tell them about the indicator light?
Well,
I think Ron's on a time delay.
it requires breaker fluid. Breaker fluid.
Don't forget those muffler bearings too.
That's how you're making up for it. He sells the Boomerang super duper cheap. It's like a printer, right? You get like a $40 printer, but you need $90 in ink to run it, right? So
there you go.
He's got his $49 Boomerang memory extension, but you need like $90 of blinker fluid for the blinky light to keep on blinking, or it'll seize your CoCo.
Hey,
so.
No selling my blinker fluid light.
That's awesome. So when can we expect to have a new round of those available to order?
They're actually available right now. So if you want to order them, I do have some in stock. I have about 30 more to make for replacements. I shipped out about 30 of them so far, replacement boards. So the other 30 or so more boards should be out this week. So people will get notified via email.
Excellent. So Boomerang Mania is real. We will.
What do you mean by replacements? Does that mean someone who's bought a Boomerang will end up with 2 now?
Well, there was also some other enhancements. There was some minor. There was a video problem that was also present with the original Boomerangs, and there was some that I had put double wipe sockets instead of the machine ones, and so again, I don't know which ones who has what, and I think it was just be fair with everybody just to get new ones. So that's what I did.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do customer support.
That's right.
Yeah,
now
so
you got to remember when you put a boomerang board in that you can't put the warranty sticker back on because you're just going to break that warranty sticker again for the next version and the next.
No, this is just a one-time version update, because this is based on feedback from people who've given me the other thing that I had changed was how I had mounted the address line, the wire. I had originally had them underneath because I was hoping that they would fit with the Gimme X, but Ed Snyder had put his Gimme X, his test board in there. It didn't work right, and a lot of people didn't like it underneath, so I had mounted a top side on the DAP board itself.
There you go.
Like I said, there was just a bunch of minor things, and I think it was just fair that the people I call early adopters get a new board, and plus, a lot of people gave me feedback, for improvements.
Yeah, that's the one challenge of designing hardware is that unlike software, in order to upgrade hardware, it's literally you've got to produce another run and do a forklift upgrade where you got to ship out a whole new version and they got to pull one out and put the other one in.
And shipping charges and everything else too.
Yeah, but you're doing that for free of charge to existing customers, so that's very cool.
Yes.
And is the price still $49 for the 2 meg and the CPU Guardian?
Yes, except for you, which is $89.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go.
He's got to make his money somewhere.
Right.
Ask for the Stevie Stroh deal when you order your boomerang.
That's right. Why pay full price when you can pay twice the price? Now how much would you pay? But wait, there's more. If you mention my name twice, it's now $200.
Wait, there's more. More money you have to send me, but still.
Enter promo code pay more.
Yes. Yes, you buy one, you get one.
That's it. It's a gift that keeps on giving. A Boy Song
Buy
product.
two, get one.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, good.
A 1 for 2 deal.
Brian, anything new with you? Since you've met the 8-bit guy, what do you do for an encore? Have you met the president or anything like that? Or
No more celebrities, and no one's asking for my signature either. So I did make a recent acquisition, though, that I haven't had a chance to play with yet, is the joystick here, the Deluxe Joystick pistol grip.
Ah, look at that. You know what? I think that one came with my CoCo Do. It's Deluxe. Deluxe.
But it's in really good shape. It's almost like nearly new. So haven't had a chance to do anything with it yet, though. But that was kind of a fun little find. So
neat. Very cool.
That works good with Timberman.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what Jason cheated with to get his high scores.
Speaking of from experience, it works, but there was no cheating involved. No cheating.
There it is.
Digital joystick or a analog?
It's an analog.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and of course, Jason's also close friends with Billy Mitchell. So.
All right, and Arville has just gotten here. William Carlin chimed into the live chat a minute ago saying, greetings, CoCo Nuts. Arville says CoCo forever. All right, well, let's jump in and let's play Get to Know Me, since we have a special guest today. We have with us Mr. Eric Crichlow, and since I don't even know where to begin, we'll just let you begin on This Is Your Life, and you can just kind of tell us what you did back in the day, when CoCo was new, what were some of the things you did, projects you worked on, and then, take it from wherever you want to go all the way up to your current project that we'd love to see too.
Yeah, well, thank you. You don't know where to begin. I don't really know where to begin either.
Wait, can you hold that thought one second? I've got a sound bite here.
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
All right, you go ahead.
There's so many side stories. Okay, don't get off on a tangent here. Don't get off on a tangent there. Oh, but take that tangent. My first exposure to computers, as I recall, was in second grade, and my second grade teacher had probably a CoCo 1. Second grade for me would have been 78. So then a year maybe 2 later, when I decided, I want a computer and came to the parents, it was, I want the computer, that same computer that I first had experienced, because it was so cool. And so without researching anything else that was out there, it was, let's go to Radio Shack and get that color computer thing, which they did, thankfully, and had a CoCo 2, played with it a bit, didn't know anybody who did anything, who even owned one. All the guys I knew who were into computers otherwise were, I think every single one was a Commodore person. So it kind of languished after initially playing with it and like having some fun with it, thinking it was kind of cool. I just set it to the side for what had to be at least a couple of years. Second grade, and then 6, 7 years old. Years it said language. Eventually, I picked it back up again and got into the BBS scene. And there was a local BBS single line back in those days in Vegas, ComNet 80. And the guy who ran it wasn't a CoCo guy, but he had a CoCo section on there. And I'm like, oh, hey, well, maybe you know something about this. Is there anybody else that you even know of in this city that has one of these? And he gave me the names of 2 guys, Alex State and Chester Simpson. And I called Alex first, wasn't home. Called Chester, he answered. That would have been 84-ish, and best friend to this day. Best man at my first wedding in 95, and best man at my second wedding 3 years ago.
Wow.
Chet was deep into the CoCo scene, and much to my surprise, there was a local users group with about 7, 8 guys who got together pretty much monthly, and he was involved with them. So he pulled me in and shared a bunch of stuff with me, and made my CoCo actually finally become useful. And from there on, it took a center place in my room and took up most of my time. Eventually, I did no programming on the CoCo 2 whatsoever. I was just a user, a game player. And then CoCo 3 comes out, and I'm about as big of a fanboy as there can possibly be. A number of stories that branch off from that, which I won't go to. But whereas in the CoCo 2 days, I had thought that OS9 was a waste, and why does Rainbow Magazine even devote space or section to this whole OS9 thing? Just get it out of here. But when the 3 came out and Tandy pushed it so hard, and you see some of the stuff they could do, this OS9 thing is cool. So from day 1, I jumped into OS9 level 2. I remember always going to Radio Shack, calling Radio Shack when the expected date of something new was out, and Multiview was like the big thing. Well, when's Multiview out? When's Multiview? Did you get it yet? Is it coming out yet? And running to the store to get it when it finally did come out. And there's another guy in Vegas, which some of you may know. I don't think he ever hangs out here, but he's kind of out in the periphery. Mike Holland. Mike was in Vegas with me and Chet. And by this time, the old CoCo 2, like users group people, had all kind of faded off and all went and done other things. And it was just basically me, Chet, and Mike. And Mike had I talked to Mike one day, and he's like, hey, dude, you've got to buy this book and learn this new language, C. And it's fantastic and awesome. And you got to get this book in C Primer Plus from the Weight Group. And I just started reading it, and now I'm programming. It's great. Okay, I guess I'll give that a shot. So I went out and bought the exact same book, C Primer Plus from the Weight Group. I'm pretty sure I still have a copy out in the garage. Learned how to program, started writing stuff. I can't remember most of what I wrote back in those days. But the one thing that I actually sold on the CoCo 3, so somewhat of a side story, the one member of my family who was a computer guy like me from back early on, although he's 10, 12 years older than me, my cousin was a Commodore guy. And of course we used to go back and forth and argue, especially when it came to CoCo 3 and Amiga. he was an early adopter on Amiga. Back in Vegas, there was only one store in town that carried Amiga, and he used to come pick me up and drive me to that store, and we'd spend an hour or more in that store just looking at the demos and the stuff that was going on the Amiga. And he bought one fairly early on, and he'd come get me, bring me to his house and show me stuff. And one of the things that he showed me, and not that this was anything fantastic, but they had a couple of popular disk management utilities, one called Disk Master and the other called CLI Mate. So CLI, command line interface, was their shell. And I looked at those and thought, well, these are actually kind of cool. I mean, they're not flashy or anything, but they're very, very useful, and we could stand to have that over an OS 9. So I borrowed the UI design from Disk Master and the name CLI Mate, and chopped off CLI and made Shellmate. And so it was pretty much a visual recreation of Disk Master on the Amiga. And that would be the one thing that I sold on the CoCo through Second City Software way back when. And I think I dabbled around some other stuff, like Chet had written a sprite editor, Image Master, on the CoCo to do some game stuff, and it was a cool little sprite editor. And I believe I wrote that for OS 9, but never released it and never used it to actually do anything. Again, mostly I was a user on the CoCo 3. And always chomping at the bit for something that would show that it lived up to the potential that had been set out there for it, and kind of disappointed that it never did. So once people started talking about moving on from that, I got really interested in the MM1. And so that was going to be the new great thing that would fulfill that potential that the CoCo 3 never did. So got one of those early on, started programming for it, ported Shellmate over to it. And like I said, I think I did Image Master for the CoCo, so then I ported Image, or either ported or rewrote from scratch the sprite editor Image Master, figuring that everybody wants to do a game. That's every hobbyist programmer I've ever known has either written one or wishes they could or wants to write a game. So I knew I was going to do that at some point. So I wrote the sprite editor, and then I wrote a game board editor, Gambit game board editor. And proceeded to, going back to the CoCo 2, my favorite all-time game was Gold Runner. In fact, I don't think I had ever even heard of the game Lode Runner, didn't know what it was.
That's funny.
Yeah, I knew that we had the King, or Donkey King instead of Donkey Kong, and we had Sailor Man instead of Popeye. I understood that those other systems out there had stuff that we didn't. They used to have, before there was an E3, there was... CES had a gaming pavilion, and we used to, living in Vegas, get passes every year, and so I used to go and see all this stuff. But Gold Runner wasn't one of those big Activision or Epic games, or Lode Runner, so I never had actually seen it. But this game, Gold Runner, I love it. I could play this for hours on end, for days and weeks on end. So it seemed natural to me when I'm going to do a game on the MM1. The MM1's the next incarnation for me of the CoCo. Let's do a Gold Runner game. Except, we're not going to have these little tiny sprites on a 4-color screen. Well, we got to do it up a bit. So made it, I think the sprites were 32 by 32. It was a 3-screen wide by 3-screen high scrolling level, and probably had about 30 of them. Digitized music, and I cannot remember. I'm thinking I actually used the CoCo to digitize the sound samples. What I did with Gold Runner 2000 was took songs that had what I thought was a video game kind of sound to them. And so I would sample, usually from like the very beginning of a song before words started being spoken, a repeatable clip of half a second to 2 or 3 seconds long. And I'm pretty sure it was something on the CoCo that I used to record it and then to trim it so that I could play it back to back to back, and it would sound like it was just one repeating sound. And again, I did 30 of those, which is largely what made Gold Runner take up 4 discs.
Yeah, somebody just Joel. Is it Avi? Joel Avi? Is that how you pronounce his name? He posted a picture of those floppies on Facebook just today. So I got to pull those up. So yeah.
So I digitized the sounds. I have zero graphics talent, so the graphics were, the sprites weren't the best thing ever. But hey, they were something, and they were like, bigger than stuff you would find in the CoCo. So built a bunch of levels, digitized sounds, created this, so it should have been 900 by 600 pixel, 3 screen by 3 screen, little sets of levels, scrolling, so scrolling with 4 to 5 guards in each level. So not a lot going on. In this being my first game ever, wasn't real efficient in anything I was doing, especially animation wise, beyond doing standard double buffering to be having one off screen image that you're drawing to while displaying the other and then swapping. The sprites, if I remember correctly, I was taking this raw bitmap data and checking each bit for whether it was black, in which case it would be transparent, and if not, then draw it onto the screen, which ended up making the game very slow, even for the power of an MM1. When you got 4 or 5 guards on the screen, it notably slowed down. Later, I went on to use just a basic, most simple RLE compression. RLE, very simple compression, to speed it up so that there was no noticeable slowdown, no matter how many sprites I had on the screen. But that wasn't the day of the internet, so I couldn't just push a patch out. Hey, download this and patch the game. So it never got released to anybody. I just had it myself. Anyway, so I put Go Runner 2000 out there. I think I sold about 25 copies of it, most of them at an Atlanta CoCo Fest, and I do not remember if that was the first, the last, or the only Atlanta Fest. I just remember going to Atlanta once and shipping my CoCo out there, and Chet flew out there as well, and he had the CoCo and was showing something off on it, and we'd gotten the booth, and most of the copies I sold there, and to my memory, there were only like 250 or so MM1s ever sold, so I was like, hey, I sold to 10% of the user base.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is amazing numbers. Nobody ever hits numbers like that. The one good thing that really came out of that was between doing Go Runner 2000 and being on Delphi and CompuServe and participating in the community there, I got to know some guys, Boise Petrie, who I think Steve said has been on here before, or at least he still hangs out. I mean, he wrote the CoCo history book a few years back. Joel Hegberg, OS9 Al Huffman, who I see his picture pop up here periodically. And those guys had all started working in microware. And so coincidentally, right after I graduated college with a degree in psychology, because I ended up hating electrical engineering, which is what I started in, because I had said I love programming as a hobby, and doing it as a profession would probably ruin the hobby for me. I don't want that to happen, so I refused to go to school for computer science. So I go for electrical engineering and hate it and get out of it and get this degree in psychology, and what am I going to do with that? I'm working for Chase Manhattan Bank and credit cards, and not much of a future there. But right after I graduated, Boise reached out to me and said, hey, we need some people up at microware, and I've seen Go Runner 2000, I've met you and see you online and talk to you. I know you can program, you can do it, so what do you think? I'm like, where's Iowa? Honest to goodness,
Did they have winter?
I did not know where Iowa was when I said, yeah, sure, I'll give it a shot. Flew out there for an interview, got the job, moved to Iowa, spent 2 years working at microware, which I didn't realize how it was. So yeah, I was a big OS9 guy, so microware was kind of mecca to me, but I guess I didn't understand how big of a deal it was to others until I went to Chicago Rainbow Fest or CoCo Fest, which one it was at the time, and somebody, I had no idea who this person was. Oh, hey, one of the microware guys. Who are you? And how do you even know I work there? I don't publicize it, so it was kind of cool to just be recognized as, oh, hey, you work in microware. That's awesome. during, say, the second year at Microware, I was working on, they had a David, Digital Audio Video Interactive Decoder, which was an operating system for digital set-top boxes. And I don't know if they ever actually sold any. They were talking to Scientific Atlanta, and they had a prototype box that worked with that. And there was a set of APIs for graphics, MAUI, multimedia application user interface, something like that. And I worked in testing on that, and I ported Go Runner 2000 to MAUI, which later one of the Microware guys left and started his own business doing in-flight entertainment systems, Snap 2, Rick Rule. And having been with me at Microware and seeing that I had written a game under MAUI, said, hey, this is the system we're using for this in-flight system. How would you like to put games on it? So I actually did polish up and tried to make some nicer graphics as best I could for Go Runner 2000, had it running on this system. Also did a clone of Tetris called Iron Curtain that I had done on the MM1 and got it running on MAUI. And so through Rick, I had those two games in Boise, who was still in Microware at the time. He had written a Pac-Man clone called Mr. Sneaky. Between the two of us, we put these three games out in that system. And to my knowledge, the one contract they did get was with Air France. And so we had games running on OS 9 that came from the MM1 on Air France flights for at least some period of time. At least
Wow, that's a neat connecting of the dots there.
And I always wanted to be able to go on one of those flights, but I never made it to fly on Air France, so never actually got to see it in action. But that was, for me, that's just one of the highlights. So like, hey, I had stuff in the air, before everybody has in-flight entertainment systems now, but back then it was a new, cool new thing. And hey, I've got stuff in the air actually flying, and presumably people playing my stuff. So in the last year of being at Microware, I'm doing more OS 9s, more MM1 stuff. Wanted to, as much as I liked Gold Runner and was really proud of it, I'm like, honest to goodness, I like the original better. And the MM1 doesn't have it. Let's fix that. So I pulled out the CoCo and started playing level by level. And I mean, going over every block. If you remember Gold Runner, it had trapdoors. And you couldn't tell what a trapdoor block was. It looked just like a diggable block. So I had to make sure I ran over every single block and every single level. And I had graph paper, and I mapped out every level, where the escape ladders were, where the guards started at, where the trapdoors were. And I'm going, and Go Runner had 33 levels, as I remember. And I'm like playing through each one.
Wow.
Not so much playing to win the level, but playing to make sure I touch every single block. So I make sure I get all those trapdoors right. And eventually, to save me from this, Chet Simpson came in and bailed me out again, and basically disassembled the game.
I was getting ready to say, there are other ways to do that. Yeah.
That wasn't. I was never the technical one. That was always Chet. He was anything, and I could do nothing. So he came along and said, "Here, all right, here you go. Here are all the levels, and you can stop playing and actually get to developing the thing." Thank goodness. So I did a version of Gold Runner, called it Classic Gold Runner, for the MM1. But I also, I had this foresight of, I'm going to want to do more with this in the future. So let me not just make a game. Let me make a game engine. And I'm going to use this engine, and it's going to go on and live for years more, and I'm going to do other stuff with it. And I had this grand plan in mind. So I'd written Gold Runner 2000 first, and then I'd written Classic Gold Runner. The next step in a 4-game series was Gold Runner Plus, which was going to incorporate teleporters and platforms.
Ooh.
And I started, and then the fourth thing I was going to do was take all of that from the Gold Runner engine, make bigger sprites, and incorporate the fixes I had made to Gold Runner 2000, never got released out there, to speed it up. And the final game was going to be Super Gold Runner 2000 Turbo Extreme. Like, this is going to be my ultimate achievement. This is what I'm going to hang my hat on. And never got there. I was in the process of implementing the platforms and teleporters for Go Runner Plus when things changed and I ended up having to leave microware and move back to Phoenix. Fortunately, I'm like, okay, I've been here for a year and 9 months, no computer science degree. Maybe that year and 9 months can translate into actually having a career in Phoenix is the biggest city, and there's a bunch of development going on here. Fingers crossed. Looking, not finding anything that seems like I can apply to it. And I saw in the newspaper, this would have been 1997, an ad for Engineered Systems Inc. They needed an OS 9 programmer. Like, you have got to be kidding me.
It just fell from the sky.
Yes, it did. ESI did terminal fuel systems. So the semis that load fuel up at the big installations and then drive them and pump them in the gas station. And their system ran on OS 9, the system that controls fueling these big tankers. And they needed somebody to do some upgrades on it and maintain it and make some changes to it. So I went and worked for them, and I'm doing OS 9 work until they got bought out by a company in San Diego, Sorrento Electronics. And they moved them to San Diego, and they flew me out there a couple times to finish a couple things I was working on, but then that was over with. Fortunately, after that, I knew some people, like a recruiter who was able to get me into another company with her connections, and did that for 8 or 9 months as a contractor. And after that, that's a good solid 3 years in the business. From there, I was able to, on my own, apply for and get programming jobs without having to worry about, for the most part, not having the degree or, my experience being in this OS 9 operating system nobody ever knew about. So from 1998 on, I've just been in the business.
Wow.
And in 2008, got reached out to because I'd been doing Mac programming for about the 6 years prior to that. And 2008, the iPhone has taken off, and legitimate iPhone programming, it just became a thing. And so because I'm a Mac programmer and it's CoCo, I reached out to, hey, how'd you like to come to American Express and work doing stuff here? I'm like, sure, where I'm at right now is kind of going nowhere, and I can see the writing on the wall. Absolutely, let me jump and go over here. Not long after doing that and learning, I took the job not having written a line of iOS code in my life. The first iOS project I did was the weekend before I started, just to get my feet wet in it. But not long after that, I'm like, hey, iOS, iPhone, my favorite game, Lode Runner. I wrote an engine that was specifically meant to be able to take this and move it onto other platforms. I did it for the in-flight system. Why not? Was able to retrieve the code. Actually, Chet did that for me again because I think the MM1 wasn't booting or something, and I think he was able to use his PC to read the floppies and get the code off of it for me. So he got me the code. And in, I say, a week's time, had it up and running on iOS, polished it up, put it out in the App Store. And within a year of doing that, now, and by this time I was aware of Lode Runner, and I had seen some like Lode Runner Legend Returns, and Lode Runner still had a life kind of going on. But there was also lots of clones. There were clones on the App Store. The PCs had clones everywhere. Within a year, a company called Tozai bought the rights to Lode Runner, and they immediately decided to start sending cease and desist letters to anyone who was infringing on Lode Runner's rights. And so they sent such a letter to Apple for every one of us that had a Lode Runner clone on the App Store, and they sent one to me personally. I'm like, well, they're right. I responded to them, from a position of ignorance. I don't know what you're talking about. My game is Lode Runner. It is actually a clone of a game called Lode Runner for the Here State Color Computer. Here's a link to the website that's got that historical record on it. So yeah, this Lode Runner thing you're talking about, that's not me. I'm Lode Runner. But I know good and well they're right, and I don't have a leg to stand on. So I just let the app come down at the App Store and let the code sit there for a while. And I'm debating, what do I do with it? Do I change it around and try to make it so it's not infringing and re-release it? Eventually I decided, let me just fix it up, make sure it runs with whatever current, a couple years later in iOS, and release it on GitHub as open source, which I did. Let it sit and languish for a while. Last year, I picked it back up and said, well, how's it doing with the latest with the latest iOS? Yeah, it won't even build. Fixed it up, made the changes necessary, got it building again, re-released it, and mentioned it on the Facebook group, like, hey, here's Lode Runner for iOS if anybody's interested. And I had no idea. It's been forked a number of times, but I have no idea if anybody's ever done anything with it. But at the same time, I thought, I kind of want to do a game again, and this hasn't been on the App Store in a while. Let me start over and do something fresh. And hey, iOS, macOS, Apple has this language Swift now. Good learning exercise for me. I'll do my first Swift. I had inherited a couple of Swift apps at work and as a contractor that other people had written, but I'd never written anything from scratch myself. So that's a good learning experience. Beginning of this year, I wrote a combined sprite game board editor, the combination of Benjamin Esther and Gambit from the old days, because I'm stubborn and hard-headed, and even though there's plenty of sprite editors and game board editors out there, I wanted my own that did things I wanted it done. I didn't want to have to use someone else's formats and all that, so I took the first 4 months of the year in my spare time, and I wrote a sprite editor and a game board editor. And then in May, started a new project, which is the spiritual successor to Lode Runner. It's Lode Runner Plus, because it's got the teleporters, it's got the platforms. But I knew that having your primary weapon be digging was still going to be way too close to Lode Runner, and I'd become after again. So let me just change that dynamic, and that should insulate me. So instead of digging, the main character can erect stasis fields that can trap the guards, and so that's a totally different play dynamic. Lode Runner, you had levels where you had to like dig 3 or 4 in a row and then jump in and dig a couple more to get like 3 levels to get into it. You can't do it when you erect stasis fields. You can't do level design like that. So I felt like this is different enough, that play mechanics are different enough that this should be an entirely different beast. Finished it. Put it out a week ago, yesterday, I think. And so now most of my time is being spent trying to promote it, trying to get it seen. It's retro, much to my surprise and dismay. As I started looking at retro sites and things on Facebook, people are calling PlayStation 1 retro. I've seen some people are arguing that PS2 qualifies as retro. Like, seriously, come on. Classic is now like the SNES system that they came out with. It was you couldn't find for Christmas, flying off the shelves. That's what Classic is. So I'm calling myself vintage. So this is a vintage game, and how many people are really going to be interested in going back to the late 70s, early 80s and playing a vintage game? That's something, I'll just throw it out there and do nothing with it. But I kind of got convinced, no, there might be a market for it. There are still people, older folks like myself, who've been around since those days, who might think, like I do, I don't play a lot of more recent games because they're overload. There's too much. Give me the simple games like Lode Runner, and so hey, maybe there'll be some people interested in this in the retro gaming communities or whatever. So I've got a Facebook page for it, I've got a Twitter page for it, and I'm trying to kind of promote it and push it out there. In the meantime, thinking what's going to be next, because as an indie programmer, I've always got stuff in mind, and I've had a game in mind, an original game for years that I haven't gotten around to. I've got this other apps in mind that I want to get to, but the next thing for me is doing an Android version. Part of me thinks that maybe in a community like this, Android might be more of a draw than iOS, since Android is more tinkerish and you can customize it more, and people from like the CoCo days are more, hey, we don't have stuff fed to us, we do it ourselves. So I'm curious to see when I get an Android version done how it does compared to the iOS version, but that starts in earnest today. I'll start working on that. Stevie did make the point that maybe I wanted to, instead of just talking about stuff, show some of this stuff. So I can share the screen here.
Do you mind telling us, like, I know it's only been out a week, but what have the sales figures been like right now?
I'm
not dollars, but just like how many numbers have you sold? A dozen or 2 dozen?
To be honest with you, it's not. So the first 6 levels are free, and then there's packs of 6 levels you can buy after that. Nobody has bought an in-app purchase on it yet.
Okay.
And looking through the analytics through Firebase, much to my surprise, I was worried that people were going to say, dude, these levels are too easy, because having been the person who developed it, I can run through a lot of the levels, and I ran through a lot of them the first time without losing a life, and bam, I'm through, I'm done. So I'm thinking, man, Eric, you thought you were doing good here, but this is way too easy. And yet the people who have reached out to me have said, hey, I can't even get through level 1. I'm like, well, level 1 is pretty easy. So
Sounds like Stevie.
I just pulled up the sales trends through yesterday. On the App Store, you can't do current day. So through yesterday, it has done 156 units.
Oh, neat. So, but those are people who've all downloaded the free,
yes.
The free version. Okay, 150.
Yeah, and it spiked on. Hell, I don't have any secrets. It's not a big deal to me. So I'll share the screen and and show you what's there.
Yeah. That's cool. How about we do this while you're getting ready to do that, because we've been going for 45 minutes or so. Go ahead and keep getting your screens ready. I'm going to take a quick commercial break for about a minute and a half. So, and then we'll be back with, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Ron Delvaux, how we doing on the satellite uplink? Everything good? Mission Control, do you copy?
Yes, everything's cool.
Everything's good. Okay,
it's working just fine.
Okay,
the mute button is working fine.
Yeah,
excellent. And I see Jason's playing some. Which game? What game are you playing there, Jason?
I'm playing the CoCo version of Gold Runner 2000.
Yeah,
there
Chet's version.
The Chet Simpson
Part of the
version.
challenge.
It's the best I can do, but it's really hard.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get ready to share your screens, Eric, and do what you're going to do to show us. But we're going to take a commercial break, so we'll be back in about a minute and a half with more CoCoTALK. This is really cool. I'm enjoying the story so much. I've resisted interrupting you the whole time, which is very hard for me to do. So
I appreciate it. I'm going on.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good stuff. All right, so we'll be back in just a minute.
Hello, I'm David Ladd. Thank you for watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading live CoCoTALK show.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer Stevie Stroh here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the retro swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you. Go ahead and try and share again, Eric. I had to turn off my sharing.
We make games for the TRS-80 color computer, TRS-80 MC10, and Dragon computers. Our basic games cover the range of genres from arcade, to text adventures, to simulations, to 3D dungeon crawls. This is our latest puzzle game from Japan, Fruit Panic.
Start share.
So come on and drop by our website and download our latest games.
Radio Shack has a great gift idea for the whole family. Fast action TV games, and they're on sale. Get this 6-game model for $29.95 or the 4-game model for $21.95. With rising entertainment
we're still in a
costs,
commercial break,
that's a
though, so
real
just hold on.
bargain. You play hockey, tennis, squash, and more. Easy to hook up and great family fun that lasts all
You have an
year
Apple TV
long.
version of it too, or just
The sale price
iPad and
TV
iPhone?
games.
No, it's just iPad and
Only at
iPhone.
Radio
In order to
Shack.
do Apple
Attending
TV,
company.
I would actually have to have real legitimate sprites. It was hard enough for me doing, what are they, 10 by 10 sprites for the iPhone. That was pretty easy. I can do this. Doing 20 by 20 pixel ones for the iPad, like, this is stretching my graphics capabilities past their limit. Doing something that would actually go on the Mac or on Apple TV, I'm like, I'm going to have to get somebody else with some actual talent to do this. I'm not going to be able to produce anything decent.
All right,
there
we're
you
back.
go, Curtis.
All right, we're back, and we can see your screen, Eric.
Awesome. So, unit sales released on Friday and did 9 units, jumped up to 46 on Saturday, bottomed out on Sunday, came up again on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday has kind of increased, and we dropped back down on Friday. One of the things that, now I'm trying to remember where you see this, that surprised me initially, and I think this has actually changed, was early on, I had more, just as many, if not more, downloads from China than from the US. I'm like, why is it, like, relatively speaking, more popular in China? But that's kind of balanced out now.
Okay.
They were trying to get in on it before it got tariffed, I think.
Yeah, they're gonna basically make a Chinese knockoff version of this that'll be free. So
62 out of USA and Canada, 41 Europe, 36 Asia Pacific, and then Africa and Latin America. So that's where she's sitting, and and it's not surprising to me. It is hard to get noticed, to gain traction on the App Store. There's hundreds of thousands of apps out there, thousands of games. You never expect to succeed. I really kind of want. I actually spent a fair amount of time developing levels, and I played through every one to make sure they all worked right and you could win them all. And so for me, it'd be kind of cool to see people actually get through, the levels and be able to see and experience them, especially certain ones towards the end. But we'll see. Like I said, when I started, I thought everybody was going to say this is too easy because I can breeze through a lot of levels myself. But even though today I played some and I'm dying an awful lot, strangely. But I've been told, man, and the analytics are showing it, that a lot of games have been started and very few people have succeeded in beating levels. So maybe it's not as easy as I thought it was.
Can you show us a picture of what it looks like when you make this? Like, what's your development?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to bring that up. First thing, just quickly, since I mentioned it, Lode Runner here. Even though it's not available, it's still on my phone. And as much as possible, try to recreate the feel of the original.
I love that name, Infusions of Grandeur.
Yeah. Mike, Chet, and I started a software company way back when, and it was Hypertext Software. And then I went on to, after we kind of disbanded that No CoCo days, I created Digital Frontier Productions and actually incorporated that, and that's what I released the stuff on the airplanes under, knowing that I might get sued because I had a Tetris clone, and so everything I did was under Digital Frontier Productions, and that eventually went away. And then it was what's the next thing? What new business name am I going to go under? And Infusions of Grandeur. The Star Wars. I think the first time I ever heard the term Delusions of Grandeur was Han Solo in Return of the Jedi, and that kind of stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
So let me play on those words a bit. So let's. Yeah, I kept the fade in of the game.
Oh, neat!
And
that looks just like it.
This is Lode Runner.
It is, absolutely.
So, and to this day, whenever I see this, for me, it is still nostalgic. It brings back memories. I still like this game more than anything.
Oh, yeah. Like, I forgot that there was those blocks you could fall through. You had to figure out which ones were which sometimes.
Yeah, the trapdoor ones.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's where it all began.
Yeah, this looks like VCC right there because the artifacts are like a darker shade of blue and stuff. Yeah. That's really cool.
That's where we started. Now, we're going to stop this. And Gambit.
What is Gambit? Is that the development tool?
That's the sprite editor and game board editor.
Oh, this is what you made. This is your tool.
Right.
And what did you write this in? What language?
This was my first Swift app on the Mac, first and only.
Swift, SWIFT?
Yeah, that's a programming language Apple created a few years back as their not evolution of, but transitioning away from Objective-C, which had been around since like the Next Step days or earlier actually, and a new from scratch, this is the future of Apple development, Swift. And so Boise Petrie wrote one of the early development books in it that I helped edit, and I learned a little bit about it, but I picked up Apple's book on it and read that and like, okay, I'm gonna start doing stuff in Swift because that's what Apple wants you to do. And I hadn't done a Mac program in quite a while, so let me create this program on the Mac. Let me do it using Swift.
Yeah, matter of fact, I think Boise was saying, because he was working on a new DriveWire server for Mac, but I think he was saying that because he's writing it in Swift, he couldn't port it to Linux or anything else like that. So,
well, I think Swift isn't Apple's. They're porting Swift to some other platforms too now. I think the base part of it, anyway.
Yeah, it's open source and it's available on. I mean, it's server side Swift, and I think it's available on Linux and maybe Windows. So this is the sprite set. And again, for someone with no graphics talent, this is about the most I can do. These are 20 by 20, and it was hard enough for me to try to make something decent out of that.
Hey, there's the dude.
Yeah,
Look, there's a robot
guards,
dude.
And
so the guards are like robots?
Yeah, they're instead of guards, because that's a Lode Runner thing. They're sentries.
Sentries. There you go.
Sentries. And the shield.
Very stick figure-ish looking guy. It's pretty cool though.
Yeah, to an extent, it is reminiscent of
yeah, that's
the
so
original.
cool.
It is designed to be a vintage game. It's supposed to bring back thoughts of old vintage 8-bit computing.
Yeah.
And then we added in the level editor. Game board sets. Let's jump to the end, the last 6.
Oh, look at that. And those are the ladders, I take it. Ladders and platforms, right? So.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did here so I could see how things looked in the game.
Yeah, that's neat. Neat.
I get a feel for how the animations look.
Is that supposed to be a portal you could walk into to warp or something?
Yeah, that's the teleporter. That's the teleporter.
Okay. Neat. That looks like David Ladd's eye pupils when he hears somebody mentions the word floppy. His eyes just bug open like that. So.
Oh, Stevie.
And so I built all the levels here, and then lay on attach the sprite to them, and I can tag. On this level, I know. So this spot, if I remember correctly. Oh, I'm wrong. Oh no. This spot. So this is where the game board file has 3 bytes. Each tile has 3 bytes. One is what sprite it is. The second byte is what things I attach to it, a piece of gold or the character or a guard. And the third byte is an attribute byte for instance, setting the high bit on this says this is where the escape ladder starts. So once you've gathered all the gold, build the escape ladder from here and just take it straight up.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
What was I thinking about here?
Yeah, it's making me wish I had an iPhone right now because I don't. I'll have to wait for the Android version of this, but
yeah, I'm trying to see how quickly I can get that. And the logic and everything's been done, so maybe I can do the Android version a lot faster. Hopefully. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of building levels. I guess
okay, so you have dark background and light background ladders.
Yeah, I wanted outdoor environments and indoor. It's just a little something extra. And Go Runner 2000 had that way back in MM1. So it's something I wanted to carry over here.
Yeah, it looks really neat.
It is by no means full featured, but the sad thing is, if the game ever took off, I would love to be able to play levels I didn't create. The original Lode Runner, I guess, I was talking to a guy at work who was a fan of Lode Runner on the Apple II.
Yeah.
Like, it had a built-in level editor where you could go in and create your own levels and give them to other people. And that'd be fantastic.
And supposedly that's how some of those levels made it into the game, because the guy who was making it had given some kids, like some high school kids and stuff, access to the level editors to play with while he was still developing it, and some of the in-game levels were kind of crowdsourced.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, on the CoCo, there was a sort of a unofficial sequel to Gold Runner done not by Diecom, but another company, I think it was Tom Mix actually, or Novasoft, that did Gold Finder, and that actually had a level editor built in for doing this kind of thing too.
Oh, I do not remember. There was a Gold Runner 2 that had an additional 30-some levels, but that was official. I didn't know. I don't think I remember seeing a Gold Finder. Unfortunately, this is kind of custom built. It's not polished. It's not. I never released this, and I wouldn't, because you have to know if I do this, and I have to do that. If I set some values, numbers for a platform, I have to set this byte, and then for these bits, if I set that, then I have to do it. There's too much that's free form that you wouldn't know and could easily mess up, that I can't just hand this out and say, hey.
Right. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, plus, but it reminds me of like some of the when I first learned Visual Basic, it was kind of object oriented like this, where you click on one box and you had all the attributes you could set for one item and stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
I did some Visual Basic back in the day for a while. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I actually didn't mind it at all.
Yeah, no, that's neat.
This is the development tool, and it's not very polished. And if I make a mistake, I don't have an undo. It's not very forgiving.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have to be very, very careful when I build each one of these, and a couple of my
Is there a save button at least where you could like save and reload if you had to?
Oh, yeah.
Save and save often. So
yeah, that it does. But it never crashed on me during development, so it's not like I ever built a bunch of a level and then had it crash and lose it. So it never frustrated me quite that much. But it gets the job done. That's kind of what it boils down to.
That's cool. Well,
maybe it'll get used for something else in the future.
Yeah, so why don't we do this, because we have another segment we still have to get to today too, with assembly and stuff. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show off the video from your website, unless you've got it too. I've got it queued up where we could show everybody the video of what some of the gameplay looks like, and then if we could after we finish the assembly segment and stuff, if we got more time, I'd love to hear more about it. But I want to make sure we get a chance to finish this other segment, because I'm a little tiny bit crunch for time today.
It's up to you. You can show the video, or I can actually play the game. Either one.
You want to do that? If you can play it, then play it. Yeah, let's see it. Let's see the master. Let's see the master do it.
Yeah, I was practicing earlier and like, oh, what level should I play? And like, wow, I'm really not very good at this today. I'm dying all
Now,
over.
are you also sharing sound? Will we be able to hear it? Are you doing this too?
No. When I do a movie recording through QuickTime like this, you don't ever hear the sound.
Oh, okay, that's fine then. That's fine.
But and it doesn't have any backgrounds, and it has sounds for things like picking up a piece of gold or whatever, but it doesn't actually have any background music playing. So it's
okay. So don't you love updates?
It keeps trying to run. Will you stop? I do not want you. I don't need you anyway. All right.
Loot Raider. I love the name though too. Loot Raider.
Yeah. I one day I just threw a bunch of names up and said, okay, I want something that has to do with stealing. So I have a bunch of synonyms for stealing and a bunch of synonyms for gold, and mixed stuff together, and eventually this is what I settled on.
Yeah.
So you've got a number of different control schemes, and most recently I added this D-pad version here in the middle because somebody complained that that's how they like to play games, and I didn't have a D-pad control scheme. But I generally like that one. Here's all the levels which are enabled on this particular version.
You got a friend in high places, right? So you you have the fully unlocked version.
So play.
Oh, so you just turn your phone sideways so it orients too, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I love how it opens up like that. Ah, that's so cool. There's the portal flashing. There's your elevators. Man, this looks really good. And there's your guy. So what is he doing? What is he putting down right now? He just made this little pile of something.
He built a stasis field which can either trap a guy in it when he's got gold to steal the gold from him, or block him from advancing towards you. You know,
gotcha.
That's your weapon.
So it's a barrier / something. Okay. It moves pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fairly simple game, so you kind of should.
Now, is there any falling damage? Can you fall forever and not die?
No, you can fall forever.
Okay.
And it's ran through a teleporter.
This is awesome.
And the little elevators, too.
Yeah.
This is basic.
Oh, so that guy just stole the gold. Okay. I just saw him steal it.
This is Gold Runner Plus.
Yeah.
But with different graphics and erecting shields instead of...
Is there a limit to how many of those stasis fields you can create? Two at a time.
You've got 2.
You just got hit?
Yes, I did. I died. Oh, and I'm going to die here again if I don't get out. Anyway, I mean, I know you're running shorter on time here, so...
Yeah, no, that looks really good. This looks awesome.
Thank you.
I like
I'm
it.
kind of happy with it. I'm happy with how it turned out.
So
I got a question.
Go ahead, David.
Eric, since you're on the iOS for this, do you also support the Steel Series controllers for iOS for controlling the game?
No, I have not. I don't have one, and I've never used one. But that is a good question because I know that having external controllers has become a big thing that a lot of people want.
Yeah,
I hadn't even thought about that. No one ever even mentioned that. That's actually a good point.
Yeah, because see, I've got one of the Steel Series controllers that, is licensed for the iOS devices, and that's what I use on Minecraft for iOS, and I just thought I'd ask because I actually downloaded this game yesterday.
Thank you.
But I don't have enough account credits to buy the levels, so that's why I didn't show up yet.
Yeah, much appreciated. And anybody that takes the time to even play it, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, this is a much more longer term goal of mine too. I'm just getting back into programming. I've only ever programmed in BASIC, and I'm getting ready to learn assembly and stuff. And I'm going to make a handful of CoCo games. But ultimately, it would be nice to be able to make a game that can be enjoyed by more people on a modern thing, And so this is just one example of doing that. It can still be our CoCo style game or retro game, but if you can play it on a modern, like a mobile device or browser or something like that, it just can get it into more hands for people to enjoy. And ultimately, I think that's what you want, right? If you're making a game, you want people to get their hands on it and play it, right? So
absolutely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, we will. Listen, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do that. I've got all the links. So in the description of this video, there's a ton of links. So there's links to the Loot Raider Facebook page. There's a link to his website. There's a link to some YouTube videos. So check those out. And if we have more time, I'll show you some of those. But we're going to take a real quick break again. We're going to come back and we're going to jump into Assembly Language Part 10 because I'm on the edge of my seat with assembly now. I'm ready to assemble, right? So this is great stuff. So thank you so much, Eric. You going to be able to hang out with us?
Yeah, I'll stick around.
All right. So we're going to take another break. We'll be right back and get ready to have some more assembly here, folks, after these words. Actually, so let me just do this so you guys can hear the commercials again. I will turn my sound sharing back on. All right. We'll be right back, folks.
Hey, this is Eric, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
In a world where RGB produces black and white video, one cable can make a difference. Switcheroo. CoCo3SCARTcable.com.
What's going on, guys? Stevie Stroh here, and I want to say thank you so much for being part of this adventure with us. It's been such a great experience in doing CoCoTALK every week, and the support we get is just amazing. And so the fact that you watch and listen is all the reward that we need. However, if you would like to become a patron of the show and offer some financial assistance towards the production and hosting costs of the show, we do have a Patreon site available for that, and you can reach that by going to our website at CoCoTalk.live and clicking on the Patreon link. But just do us a favor and watch and listen to the show.
Where can you catch all the latest news and information about the Tandy colored computer and compatibles?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm talking about the CoCo Crew podcast. Dig it each month. Join John, Neil, and Mike as they lay down the latest news and information about the Radio Shack Tandy colored computer and compatibles. Groove to interviews, tech segments, and discussions all about the Radio Shack Tandy color computer. Strut your fine self over to www.cococrew.org and start listening today. The CoCo Crew Podcast. Keeping it CoCo, dig?
Fletcher, I don't need that report tomorrow.
Great, JT.
I need it tonight.
But JT...
Fletcher saved $300 on her office away from the office. Radio Shack's revolutionary Model
Sometimes
100
JT can be a little hard
it's
on
a word
Fletcher.
processor, phone directory, and dialer. It even communicates with the office computer.
Fletcher, how's that report? Fletcher.
Radio Shack's Model 100. Save $300 and put it to work.
You'll go far, Fletcher. You'll go far.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
Thank you, Speech Sound Pack.
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
All right. Well, guess what, everybody? We are here. We are back. That was really cool. And if I didn't have a timetable crunch today, I would have liked to hear it a lot more from Eric Crichlow and his game, and hopefully we'll have some more time after this. But I'm also very anxious, on the edge of my seat for more assembly. It's like cowbell now. I got to have more assembly. So we're gonna jump into that. Seve Bjork, are you ready and willing to share your knowledge with us?
Whatever that background noise was there. No, I'm ready to go here.
All right. So I need to hold on one second. Where are you though? I don't see your overlay here. I need to get that picture up a little higher. All right, I'm trying to get your picture on the screen, and I don't know why you're not here. Let me see.
I am here, though.
You are. I need to... Okay, here you are. Now you were there, but you weren't showing up, and I don't know why. So I decided to re-add you, because it's very important having you here. So... this is a professional show here, so we're going to start off with some really cool music before we get into this segment here. It's courtesy of L. Curtis Boyle. All right, and here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Seve Bjork.
Okay, we have done a lot of lessons. We're now on lesson 10. And my goal was to cover in about 10 segments all the instructions for the 6809. And there's a lot of them, but we're down to the last few, and they really don't fall in a good category. So it's kind of a hodgepodge of different things. But let's go to the next slide. Basically that. We've covered pretty much most of the instructions right now. And believe it or not, next time we meet, we'll actually do some coding. Yay. I know Stevie's anxious for that. But first, let's take a look at moving information around the CPU. Let's move to the next slide. We've got all these 8 and 16-bit registers, like the A and B registers are 8-bit, and the X and Y, they're 16-bit. And if we want to move information from one register to another, you could always store it in memory and then load it back into the other register you wanted. Well, at least the 69 has something called transfer. It's an instruction that allows you to move information from one register to another, and it does it fairly quickly. It's not having to push things in the stack or move things into memory, so it makes it very straightforward. Now, there are 8 bit registers that are called AB, direct page, and condition code. Condition code is like your has your different flags, like your 0 flag or minus plus flag and stuff like that. And you can move information from any one of those registers to another, such as you can move the information that's in the A register into the B register. Now, in addition to the 8-bit registers, they also have the 16-bit registers that you can use this for. The D register, which is the A and B put together, making a 16-bit register. The X, Y, U, and S, along with the program counter. That's also a 16-bit register. So you could transfer any one of those into another 16-bit register. One thing about the transfer, the source register is not affected. It doesn't change it. It just moves the information into your destination register. Pretty straightforward, Steve, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why don't we go ahead and go to the next slide? We've got some examples here of how to do a transfer, such as transfer A to B copies the information from the A register, the B register. We have another example of transfer B to the DP register, which is the direct page register. By the way, the direct page register, the only way to get something into it is to do a transfer and what the next instruction we're going to talk about. So if you wanted to set the direct page register to 0, you would have to clear the A or B register or load A, B register with some number and then transfer that into the direct page register. Effectively, I mean, there's another way of doing it, of pulling it off the stack, but the main thing is, this is, there's no like load direct page with something.
Right. So there's not like a store A, so there's no SDP or anything. So
exactly.
Right,
so
okay.
You have to do a transfer from like the B register into the direct page register. And of course, like transfer from X to Y copies the contents of the X register into the Y register. Then I decided to throw one in there that might bring your DEF CON level up one, and that is transfer D into the PC register, which takes the contents that you have in that 16-bit AB register known as D and moves it into the program counter, basically doing a jump.
Okay.
So it's similar to doing the jump command, but it's a weird way to do it. So.
One thing I'll mention too is that doing transfers like this does not set condition code register bit flag.
I was going to get to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In any case, let's go to the next slide. And we're going to talk about exchange. It's like the transfer, but instead of transferring the information from one register to another, it exchanges them.
Ooh.
So you can have what's in the A register go into the B register, and the B register goes into the A register. Really handy for a lot of operations like that. It's just sometimes a transfer is good. Sometimes you want to do an exchange, but it works the same way. 8-bit registers can only be transferred between other 8-bit registers. If you do a direct page, not only does it transfer what's in the A register, the direct page transfers the direct page into the A register so you can work with it. Then you also have the same thing with the 16-bit register where you can exchange the information. If we go to the next slide, we've got some examples of the exchange. A can be exchanged with the B register, B register exchanged with the direct page, exchange the X and Y exchanges those two. And if you really want to get crazy, you can exchange D with the direct page register, which not only makes you jump to where D was pointing in memory to run the program counter is now transferred into D, so you know where you were at.
Yeah, I think on that last one you started off by saying direct page, but we're talking about exchanging D with program counter.
Program counter. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm program counter.
All right. So that jumps and swaps.
Yep, jumps and swaps. It's a trick that some people will use. We won't use it right away, but it's something that can be done. And the exchange and transfer registers do not affect the condition code flags. In other words, the fact that you're moving information around that is 0 or minus will not affect the flags except for one case. When you transfer something into the condition code register. Obviously, if you move something into the condition code register, it changes its condition codes.
Gotcha. Ron Delvaux, can you confirm that? Satellites agree with Seve Bjork up there, Ron?
We're good.
All right. Excellent. Okay.
And of course, as I mentioned before, you can't exchange between an 8 and 16-bit register. That would create an error.
Okay.
So only 8-bit to 8-bit and 16-bit to 16-bit. Pretty much straightforward on the transfers and exchange, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now let's try and move them up one level of DEF CON. Binary code decimal is something that's been around in a lot of processors for a while. It's a very easy way to kind of work with base 10 numbers, but still use it in binary or hexadecimal.
Am I not on the right slide?
One more slide.
Do I need to go down one?
Yeah.
Okay, so have we covered this one here? Transfer and exchange do not affect. Okay, so this you'd said it, but I wasn't on the slide yet. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No,
I'll try to remember to tell you to do a slide.
That's okay.
Okay. This type of binary coded decimal is really handy for doing scores because you want to display 16-bit numbers. It's a way, like if you've ever looked at hexadecimal, it's got 2 digits in there. You've got an upper digit and a lower digit, such as 23.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not actually 23 decimal, it's actually 23 hexadecimal.
Right.
And what this does is allows us to basically tell the processor that the upper 4 bits is going to be like a tens digit and the lower 4 bits is going to be a ones digit.
Okay.
And we definitely, so like for example, that I use here at the bottom, $23, which is hexadecimal, would be 23 decimal in binary coded decimal.
So in this case here, because in hex and in binary, they're both the same. So the 2 in hex happens to be 2 in decimal.
Right.
It's not until you get like the ABCs where it gets to be a little bit confusing. So anybody should be able to follow this if they're just kind of looking at this right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is kind of this is literally a hex to decimal conversion.
It's a way to keep track of the numbers so they are kind of decimal, but you're doing it in hex, a decimal.
Okay.
Yeah, they're used a lot keeping track of scores and stuff in games and things like that.
Exactly, as I gave the example there. Now, here's the problem. If you add the binary code decimal number of 03, which is, in hex, and you add it to 09, it doesn't give you dollars, the number 12. What it gives you is the answer of 0C. So what they did is they put in the 609 instruction called DAA, which stands for Decimal Adjust the A Accumulator, and this fixes it. So if you were to add $03 to the the hexadecimal 09, it would come up C, but you run this little instruction and it makes that 0C into 12.
Okay.
And it must be done after any add or add with carry with the A accumulator. This only works on the A accumulator. Does not work on the B accumulator. Just on the A. And I know it's a little complicated, everything we've done here, but we will demonstrate it in a later lesson.
Is there a name for this function that you have not told us yet? Is there?
Yeah, it's DAA.
Oh, okay. I just don't have it on the slide yet. There it is. Next slide. Gotcha.
Sorry. I keep forgetting to tell you to change slides.
Yeah, because I'm listening and I'm just... Okay. DAA. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, DAA. So that's what's going on here is basically if you're using the add, which would add hexadecimal or binary or numbers together, and the DAA converts it into binary coded decimal. And the reason why we might use this to actually do a score is if we take the upper 4 bits and add the ASCII 0 to it, it makes it very easy to put it on the screen because it's just 1 digit. And of course, to get that upper 4 bits, we just do a shift 4 times and we've got it. Same thing is true. And then of course, the lower 4 bits for the other half of the number, that's really easy to get to. Add ASCII 0 to it, and you now have the second score. Makes it very easy to put it on the screen. Where if we had a real binary hexadecimal, the way the CPU sees numbers, and we want to convert it, we would have to sit there and divide it by 100. And to do a divide by 100, we would have to do subtract by 100 each time to find out the number. In other words, we don't have divide bytes in the CPU, so it makes it a little harder to do this. And as I said, we're going to discuss this much more in later lessons on actually how to use this to do the score.
Okay.
And like that. Let's go to the next slide. There's most of the math in the 1609, as I said, is add and subtract. There's no divide, but they did give us a multiply. It's a very simple multiply. It'll take the A and B registers, multiply them together, and the answer will now be in that 16-bit D register, which is the 2 combined. And this is an unsigned operation. In other words, it's strictly for a positive number times a positive number.
Okay.
And if we go to the next slide, we can show an example how we might use that. Let's say we wanted to try and find where a particular scan line is in memory. Well, we load up the A register with what scan line? That's the scan line we want to find. Load up the B register with the number 32. That's the number of bytes per line. We execute the multiply instruction, and now in the D register, it has multiplied, let's say it was scan line number 3 times the 32. It's now pointing to that particular scan line. We add the start of the screen to that number, and then we transfer into X. So we've got a quick and easy way to find the beginning of a scan line based on what, like if we want to go to the 5th scan line or the 20th scan line. We'll see this used quite a bit in our first example program that we do next week, which is a bouncing dot on the screen.
Can I ask a quick dumb question here, because I'm barely got into assembly yet? When you when you do the add number, that's direct mode or immediate mode, right? Now, when you have the word start screen, is that just a human mnemonic metaphor here, or is that an actual variable? Does assembly support variables?
Those are labels.
Labels. Okay.
So it's pointing to like what's scan line is a label to a position in memory that holds the content of what scan line. This might be in direct page.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. By the way,
I also wanted to mention too, this is an excellent example of why we'd use transfer, because the multiply command can only be done on A and B. Yet when you're doing stuff with indexed modes, you have to use an index register. So this is an example where you're transferring D to X. You do the multiplications, et cetera, in D, because that's the only registers that can do it. And then you're going to need it next to do your indexing stuff. So that's a good example of where to use transfer and why.
Right. By the way, I did make a mistake on that slide. That should have been add D, because we're adding to the D register.
Where it says add start screen?
Yeah. That where you say ADD # start screen.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been ADDD.
3D.
Yeah. 3D.
Triple D.
3D.
Okay. 3D.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've corrected on my thing, and I'll make sure that gets into our final notes. And by the way, folks, all these 10 lessons are going to be put together for download, so you can make it easy, and the PDFs will be available too online.
Okay.
Of these lessons with the corrections.
So then you're going to transfer the D register, which is a 16-bit number, to whatever's there to where we are in memory on our scan line.
So the X register is now pointing to the location in memory for that thing. But this goes to an example of how you can sit there and say, I want the 5th scan line. You multiply it by 32, which is the number of bytes per scan line. And then you can add to that where, where does the screen start at? Now you've got the beginning of the line. So anyways, yeah, definitely next slide as you've got. All right. The final bit of stuff, it has to do with interrupts. And what interrupts are is the computer is running along doing its program, and then something taps it on its shoulder. It interrupts it from what it's doing. It literally stops it after it completes the current instruction and jumps to someplace else in memory to basically take care of whatever needs to be done. The advantage of this is the CPU doesn't need to periodically check to see if it needs to do something. Something will come along and say, stop now, I have something for you to do. It's much faster for it to actually to respond to it. You don't have to waste time checking on it. Interrupts are used quite a bit inside the CoCo. Example is the 60 hertz V-blank interrupt based on the TV screen. A lot of stuff that we do, especially video games, we need to synchronize on this video blank, which is basically saying, I've just built the entire screen and now I want to jump back up to the top. And when it does this, finishing the bottom and jumping to the top is a great time to change palette registers, to change what particular screen we're looking at. This keeps it from getting flickered and other weird things on the screen. So that's where the V blank comes in. It allows you to also synchronize how fast the game should run. We'll be using that quite a bit. Another example of something we might use it for is the RS-232 data coming off of a cartridge, the RS-232 cartridge. Every time data is available for the CoCo to read coming in off that port, an interrupt will happen, and then the CoCo will be able to stop what it's doing, read that byte, and then continue on reading or continue on its work. Another thing is the programmable timer, which will happen periodically. A lot of my video games, I had the programmable timer set at 6,000 times a second, and I use that to play a sound effect, a digital sound effect. So another thing that we'll find it useful for.
You can kind of view it as almost like an on hardware condition go sub. I think that's one way to put it, because basically if a certain hardware condition happens, piece of data came available on your modem port, or the timer just triggered on whatever count you have, it'll then go sub like JSR basically to your routine that you tell it to point to and where that interrupt's supposed to go, process whatever you need to do, and then comes back to where your program left off.
Curtis, you would definitely explained it as software opposed to hardware. Yeah. But it's basically allows you to respond to stuff without having the CPU keep checking on it, which makes everything run a little faster and responds very quickly. But makes sense, Stevie?
Yeah.
We'll be using it quite a bit more in later lessons. And some of the instructions that are related to the interrupt, synchronize allows you to synchronize to an external event. It basically says, okay, CPU, stop, don't do anything else until I get that interrupt. It allows you to respond extremely quickly for it. The clear flags and wait for interrupt, the CWAI, is similar to the sync command, except for it allows you to clear some flags inside of the condition code register while you wait. We'll get into that one too. RTI is return from interrupt. We've seen the RTS, which is used to return from go sub, when you did a call. Well, the RTI allows you to return from the interrupt. It's a little different. It pulls information off the stack, but we're not going to get into the differences right now because you got fast and slow interrupts and like that. And then, of course, what's used a lot in OS 9 is the software interrupt, which is kind of like you stick this in the code and it causes it to go off and do save the state of the processor, do the stuff. It's a software version of this hardware interrupt. But OS 9 definitely uses this to do system calls. Right, Curtis?
Yeah, or as they're known in modern times, API calls. Yeah.
Yep. And once again, we'll get more into these instructions later once we, get into the actual coding like that. And that pretty much completes the instruction overview. We wanted to give you a good foundation of what's inside the CPU. So when we start talking about it in the code that happens in the next session, it gives you a reference to go back on, and you got an idea of what we're trying to accomplish. Because now we're going to actually look at concepts in programming and things that are needed for assembly language, handle the stuff, how to read and write memory, how to set up data structures, and other things that are important. But we will start small because we can't get Stevie to DEFCON 1 and blow us up.
We're not going to do Zaxxon on day one.
No. But eventually we will have written a game by the time we're done.
That's awesome.
Hey, Steve, I had some questions that kind of related to Stevie here. I know that it's going to be a little technical here, but maybe you can help me out about the bilateral transfer and the bus available signal.
We're not going to be handling that stuff right now. That's hardware related opposed to the instructions. If we have time after this segment or whatever we can discuss that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because that's important for Steve to really to understand that before he programs.
Somebody definitely wanted you to go DEFCON 1.
Okay. All right. Hey, Paul Thayer just showed up here. All right, cool. Well, that was short and sweet and easy for even me to follow. It's so easy even I can follow it. So,
does anybody on our panel have anything to discuss on it? Crickets.
Any questions?
Crickets.
Yeah, Curtis.
There's one question in the YouTube chat was asking, can you run more than one 6809 or 6309 simultaneously? And yeah, there are signals on the chip to do that. They're not hooked up on the CoCo for that at the moment. Jim Brain is actually making a prototype board that actually allows you to have multiple CPUs on the same time, but that's kind of beyond the scope of the course at this point.
The one thing I wanted to add to that, speaking from a hardware point of view, the CoCo is already splitting its memory usage between basically the video display generator and the 6809, and it's really not designed internally to have more than one 6809 out there running. Now, what Jim has done is that particular 6809 has its own memory, so it's off running. It's like a second computer. So it's a way to do it. But the thing is, on the CoCo bus, the way it's set up, you can't have two 6809 sharing the same memory.
Okay. Well, listen, I've got to take a quick biological break here real quick. So I'm going to play a commercial. I do have some questions for you, Steve Bjork. And I also have some questions for the panel and for the people viewing at home too about, because you've got me thinking a little bit about hex and binary. And when I start my assembly series too, and before you know it, there's going to be so many assembly series, it's going to be like, which one, but I'm wondering, is it worth spending a little bit of time doing kind of like a binary hex and decimal primer? So that would be my question to throw to the panel when I come back from my bathroom break. So I'll be back in just a minute, guys. And thank you, Steve. I do have more questions for you, but we'll be back after these words. And
thank you. Yes, you're too kind. And thank you.
All right. So we'll be back.
We will be back after these messages.
Bilateral transfer.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me. It's Original Gamer Stevie Stroh. You know, gameplay. To get your copy of a Gameplay Goodness color computer gaming DVD today, head on over to 8bit256.com. There you will find several DVDs featuring color computer gameplay videos by the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh. So to get your very own copy of a Gameplay Goodness color computer gaming DVD, head on over to the Retro Swag Shop at 8bit256.com. All right, I'm back. And tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you.
Take that commercial off.
Let the Radio Shack TRS-80 put the world
That's
of
Richard's
color
favorite song.
computing into your home. Instant loading program packs turn any color TV into an exciting game arcade. And there's more. The color computer is an educational aid, a home management tool, an up-to-the-minute electronic information service. The programmable, expandable TRS-80 color computer from $399 only at Radio Shack, the biggest name in little computers.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
Thank you, Speech Sound Pack. You're too kind. All right, so it looks like a few people in the live chat did mention that maybe a binary decimal hex primer might be a good thing to do, because I'm looking at a couple of books, and I'm trying to figure out which book I want to base my series on. And it seems like most of the assembly books dedicate at least one chapter to explaining the concepts of binary and how that relates to decimal, and then it gets into hexadecimal. And I know we've been talking about, like today we talked about a very quick and dirty way to convert hex to decimal for like putting scores on the screen. And I'm just wondering, when I start my series, is this worth spending a little bit of time on? We have at least one person, Jay Brevin, who says yes, that would probably be good. What are you guys' thoughts? Because most of you who know assembly already know this, and since I'm trying to do the beginner's take on assembly, worthwhile?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. I found it really cool to discover that if you use a % sign, you can actually write out the binary numbers, the zeros and the ones. A little while ago, I was like, oh man, sometimes that is what you absolutely need to visualize this stuff.
Yeah, especially if you're doing graphic stuff in there.
Yeah, that's exactly
it. Part of the thing that some people do when it comes to binary, decimal, hexadecimal conversion like that is they first think it's some sort of magic thing, almost as if some wizard is doing the conversion. But really, if you go back to some of your elementary school lessons in math, they used to teach you about the different systems as far as, base 3, base 5, base, and like that. And all it is let's say that for some reason when we were created and like that, we do have 10 fingers up on our hands. And that's why we count in base 10. We go 0 through 9, and then we've exhausted all the digits, and now we've gone to 1, 0. So each digit going out is 10 to the whatever power. It's like you got the ones digit, then you got the tens digits, and then you got the hundreds digit, and like that. And that's all you're doing with decimal is you're representing 10 different factors. Well, in the case of binary, you only have 2 factors, 0 or 1. That's known as base 2. There's only 2 possibilities. So the first digit can represent either 0 or 1, and that's known as the ones digit. And then the next digit over can represent 2 possibilities once again, but it's known as the twos digit because it can represent either the factor of 0 or 2. So a binary 1, 0 is equivalent to decimal of 2. A 1, 1 in binary is equivalent to adding 2 plus 1 or 3. So as you're going up in the digits, they go up by factors of 2 or powers of 2. The bits going from right to left would be 1s, 2s, 4s, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, and that's now 8 bits. If you were to add all those numbers I just said together, basically having them all ones, you're looking at 255.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely something that should probably be done in a visual way too to show that off.
Yeah.
So I think that's and I actually, speaking of good visuals, I love what Paul Fiscarelli was doing with Long Branch Never, how he had like little highlighted things with color and stuff like that. So I don't know how he did that with his video editing software. So I'll probably just do a poor man's one with like maybe an Excel spreadsheet. I used to, when I used to teach binary for my networking classes, I had a little Excel thing I made where I could turn the things on and off, and it would convert it to decimal for me and show what it looks like. So, but I think it does need to be visualized a little bit.
I could put together a PDF slideshow that does that.
Yeah.
And do it as a full lesson, but really there's no magic in there. It's just the way numbers work.
Yeah. Oh, and so Ken Reichard, best known as being the brother of Jason Reichard, but he's saying that, most people have 10 fingers unless you're a shop teacher. So, all right. So, so we got a lot of assembly on the horizon now. And I know we've been talking about this, right? It's going to be good. We want to see more CoCo software. All right. So we have this series here that's been going on. So we've had 10 lessons that have been explaining the processor, explaining the registers, and, kind of giving you that base foundation knowledge. Now we're going to get into coding. We've got Paul Fiscarelli, who just started a series, Long Branch Never. And the first episode shows you how to set up your development environment, which I've done. Are you ready for my help? And the second one showed you how to write a little quick assembly program, Hello World. So we got that going on. I'm going to be starting a series 2 where I'm going to go through a book and just do it chapter by chapter and learn assembly and assemble and do some code. So there's going to be a lot of resources for people to start making software. Something else I'm going to do as well, because I'm still working in BASIC, because I know it's going to take me a while to learn assembly, and I want to keep moving on Cosmic Aliens. So I'm going to work on phase 2 of Cosmic Aliens. I've decided to do an all-text version of this, and I've decided that while I'm going to do it, I'm going to make this, the development is going to be somewhat episodic, and I'll be sharing the source code and what the programming looks like as I make the game, because I want to share game making progress with people, and I want to get more people involved in wanting to make software. And then I figure as I learn assembly, since I'm doing a very small 512 byte text screen, I can learn small assembly examples and start using assembly language to speed up my basic game as I learn. So I want to have these two things working in parallel. I want to keep working on Cosmic Aliens, and I want to learn assembly. And at some point in time, these two roads will intersect, and I can start adding assembly to the game. I have to step away for just a second. My daughter's getting ready for homecoming. I have to help her zip up her dress. So you guys talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. So.
Why don't you put all of us up on the screen at once? Yep.
Can we get back Eric to talk?
There he is.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you're a lot more interesting than Stevie.
I don't know about that.
Well, he did make it past level 1, right?
Yeah.
So, Eric, did you do any assembly programming on the CoCo back in the day, or was it pretty well all C and BASIC for you?
I picked up a book, and I think it was actually 68,000 assembly, just to try to get an understanding of what assembly language even was. And I'm like, this in a way is kind of cool, but I can't imagine writing anything at this low of a level, and I abandoned it pretty quickly.
Yeah, because I know Chet was really heavily into it, and Mike, I think, was kind of a mix of C and some assembly. So I was kind of curious what you did.
Mike, I don't think Mike ever touched assembly, but and this, I always give Chet credit for being the best programmer I've ever known. Back when we were kids in Vegas, he would stay up from Friday night till Sunday night, like 48 hours straight, and he would code something in assembly that I felt like it would take me a month to do in C. And it would blow me away what he was capable of doing, and everything he did was in assembly back in those days.
Well, there's just a bunch of us that just think assembly. That's all.
That amazes me.
Yeah, so Paul, I didn't realize Paul was here too. Hey, Paul, how are you? Paul Fiscarelli.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. I really enjoyed what you set up for us with Long Branch Never so far.
Cool. Glad you were able to follow it and you got things going okay.
Mm-hmm.
Working on the next part, and hopefully have that posted later tonight.
Yeah. So what I was originally planning on doing with my assembly series way back when was most likely basing it on the William Barden book, because I just heard that that's the good one to do, and then, lately William Barden is basically trying to pull digital copies of that book off of archive sites and stuff. He doesn't want people to have that electronic book anymore. He's got the copyright and he's trying, and so I want to respect all those wishes, but I still want to incorporate it based on his lessons. And so what I'm going to do is I've got 2 different books. The other guy's name starts with a T. I forgot what it was, but I've got that. That's in the Color Computer Archive too. His last name started with a T-E-H or something.
Lawrence Teppold.
Teppold, yeah, okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna go through those books and just do a few lessons. I'm gonna just run it through the assembly setup that Paul Fiscarelli has designed for us. So I'm gonna go through both these books and not try to record them, but just go through them and see which ones I like. And then what I'm probably gonna do is I want to try to base it on the William Barden book, but I'm just not going to show the book. I'll cover some of the material but I'm just not going to show the pages of the book. So maybe I'll do a highlight of the lesson in a PowerPoint or something like that, and just do the same examples and the same lessons. So for people who have the book or still have a digital copy, they can still follow that book and still follow the same chapters. But just to respect his wishes and his copyrights, I won't show his book in the video. And I think that's the best compromise I can come up with, because I have some people who are giving me legal advice here saying, listen, if you're doing it for educational reasons, you can still show the book and stuff, but I don't know. And I just figure this guy is he's kind of a founding father in a way, and I want to respect his wishes. So I don't want to show off his content, but I want to use the material, because the material I think is probably still worth using. Right. So,
have you tried reaching out to him just to see if you'd
I reached out to him quite some time ago and I haven't heard back. I reached out to him once, just asking if he'd like to come on the show, and he gotten back to me and sent me his email address and stuff like that. And then again, when I had heard he'd requested to have the book taken off the archive, I reached out again and said, listen, I heard you had this, and I just want to know if it'd be okay if I use it. I just haven't gotten a response, and I've messaged him on Facebook, and I've emailed him on the email address he got me, and I just never got a response, and I haven't pushed the issue. But I just want to take the super high road on this one here, and just
I'm just figuring if you contacted him and said, we'd like to use your book as the basis of some lessons, etc.
Yeah.
And if he does, does not want people to just download the book in electronic copy, if he's still selling it in some way, shape, or form, we could even promote the book.
Yeah, and in a way, that's what I will be doing. That I will be promoting the book, but since I don't know and I'm not sure, and I just want to be safe, I'm just not going to show the pages of the book. So.
Okay.
Bruce Moore here.
Yeah.
I contacted him as well because I saw in an old Rainbow magazine how he had an update to that book.
Okay.
With CoCo 3 stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where I got the email, but I emailed and said, hey, do you have a copy of that? Because I'd like to buy one, of that CoCo 3 version of the book. But again, no response. So not sure what's up there.
Which book was it? Is it the TRS-80 assembly language programming?
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of a blue multicolor.
No, the one I'm.
That's more brownish, I think, if I remember.
Brown.
Is it
tan?
I have talked.
Yeah, it's a tan cream color.
I've talked to him in the past. Went to lunch with him a couple times. He lives in this area, and maybe I can get a hold of him and ask him whatever you guys want to ask him.
Yeah, that'd be good if you can.
Yeah, I got 2 or 3 hard copies. So it's TRS-80 Color Computer Assembly Language Programming. Okay. Sold by Radio Shack.
The tan one, right?
Yeah, tan one by William Barden Jr.
Yeah.
And this is one of only 2 6809 assembly books that I found that are dedicated to the color computer. There are tons. Like Lawrence Leventhal's got a hardbound book on the 6809 processor. And as much as I want to know the processor, I'm more concerned with how the processor works with CoCo. So we need to understand how to use the
SAM, the VDG,
the DAC, the SAM, the VDG, the DAC. So I as much as I need to know the 6809, I need to know CoCo hardware too. So there's only 2 books I know of that are CoCo specific with the 6809 assembly, and this one has been the most best reviewed as far as everybody saying, yeah, this is the book to do. You know?
Yeah, the other one I know of is Dennis Kitts did the tape audiobook version of it.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, and he was on the show. We should probably reach out to him and wonder if he's got transcripts, if he's got text transcripts of that, and we could follow it or share.
Well, I know he's released the tapes and stuff, and if he's still got the book that went with it, then yeah, I think he was open to making it basically open source at this point. So that might be look at too.
Yeah, that might be kind of cool.
Well, just remember, if someone doesn't get back to us, we might send Ron Delvaux out to have lunch with them.
My understanding is that Dennis sold out of all the hard copies of the book, and anything he has, he published on his server. So he no longer has hard copies of the book or copies of the tape for sale.
But there are digital copies, though.
There are digital copies on his server, his FTP site.
Has anybody noticed that Grant Leedy's trying to troll here and failing at it, failing miserably? Hey Grant, don't give up your day job. All right. So,
yeah, what an amateur.
Yeah. So his first one was, God, Stevie is boring, and then he's like, can Stevie read a book? All right. So yeah. All right, Grant. Listen, Greg. Look here, Greg. If I need any crap out of you, I'll squeeze your head. Okay. So. Yeah, but I'm kind of excited. I think everybody's kind of said this, but 2019 is going to be the year of assembly. There's so many resources now that are going to be available to put it in the hands of people. I think what Seve Bjork has started here and what Paul Fiscarelli is now doing and what I hope to do. You ready to go? All right, you guys talk amongst yourself. I got to take a couple pictures. I'll be right back.
Hey, Curtis.
Yep. I
have... I'm stupid when it comes to syntax on OS 9. I want to copy a file that I have on my D drive or on my drive 1 to my pictures and GIF directory on DD, you know?
Okay.
So what is the syntax to copy?
Depends on which copy command you want to use. There's multiple ones. Are you doing one file or are you doing a bunch of files?
I'm doing one file in drive 1 to DD / pictures / GIF.
Okay. Well, probably the easiest way is just to do a CD to the directory where the file is right now.
CD to D1. Okay, yeah. I'm there.
And then copy the file name space /DD / wherever you're putting it to / the file name again.
Right, COP. Oop. Copy space.
File name.
Okay, it's 09 period GIF. To
then space again, and then /DD or wherever drive you're copying it to, and then the path. DD.
And then pictures.
Yeah, /pictures / whatever you were GIFs or whatever it was.
GIF, yeah.
And then / the file name again.
Again?
Yeah, because it's that you're basically naming the destination file. You can rename it at the same time if you wanted to.
That's where I was going wrong. 09 period.
Now, there's other copy commands that actually make it a bit easier and handle wildcards and a bunch of things too. So but that's the basic.
Nothing after that?
Nope.
No -W or anything?
Nope.
This week in retro computing support.
Yeah.
And
this week in command line.
I think it's working.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of alternatives. MS Copy, there's CP, and a bunch of others too that you can do fancy.
That's all right.
With. But
good. It worked. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, Eric, when you were lived in Iowa, what city did you live in?
So initially, when I got there, OS 9 Al Huffman was kind enough to let me stay with him out in Waukee for the first few weeks until I got my own place out in Clive. Did Clive for 6-9 months and then moved to West Des Moines. You know, Des Moines is not exactly the biggest little town in the world, so Microware being where it was, we were all just kind of accumulated around that side of town, and think everywhere we were about 5 minutes away from the office. Although Joel in Boise and I think James Jones lived out in Waukee, and they were a little further away. Yeah, Clive and West Des Moines were the places I lived.
Yep,
Actually,
very good.
like Des Moines. Des Moines
Oh, yeah.
turned out to be great.
Yep, I'm from Iowa here, and I go to West Des Moines quite often. So, yep, very familiar with where you're at.
Yeah, I hear the place has changed significantly since I really want to get back and just to see how much it's grown since I was there. When I was there was Merle Hay Mall and the one in West Des Moines, which I forget which that was, but I'm like, there's whole areas that were totally undeveloped that have like these nice big new malls and Apple stores and stuff that I've never seen. And then one day I hope to get back there again.
Hey, Eric, where in Vegas did you grow up?
So I was there starting in like 73, so well before it got to anywhere near the size where it is now. More so the northwest side of town, kind of Rancho and Washington area. Went to Gilbert Junior High School, Western High School.
Yeah, I know where those are. I lived in Vegas for 5 years around 2000. I lived out in Summerlin.
So yeah, by the time I left, Summerlin was like just beginning to be a thing.
Right.
But starting off, there was no such thing. I was bicycle riding distance from the Meadows Mall.
Mm-hmm.
And Stevie, sorry. Never mind.
I'm back. What did I miss? Start over. Just repeat everything you just said for the past 10
There
minutes.
was a support call.
Well, we can't. It's a family show.
Around Delvo, how are things at Mission Control?
Pretty good. I just got some help from our OS 9 guru.
Excellent.
That was Eric.
Copy a file.
Are we going on to news yet, Stevie? Or
Well, whenever we're ready. I don't even know what you guys are talking about right now. So
okay. Well, nothing. We're just filling.
Okay.
Random banter.
Well, I'm excited about hopefully getting more people making software, and that's some of the news that I've found this week. And so, on the one hand, you can we can do these assembly series, and pretty soon there's going to be 3 assembly series. You can provide all this information, and what Seve Bjork's going to be leading us towards is making a game starting next week too. But you also, it's the old saying, you can lead a horse to water. So as much as we have all these series, what can we do to actually get people to start programming and making, software and making games? And so I thought that my next phase of Cosmic Aliens, I'm going to actually be developing it as part of the video. So I'm going to be making a development video where, I'm going to do phase 2 of the game. And there's to me, there's 3 benefits to doing this. Number 1, sharing the development process of making a game in BASIC, because BASIC is something anybody can turn on their CoCo and use. So you don't have to create a development environment for BASIC. But number 2, I'm going to be doing it in text mode. And the benefits of doing it in text mode are that this should be very easy to port to the MC10. It can also be ported to the Dragon. So you have 3 different systems it can run on. Doing assembly language data manipulation in text mode is such a small amount of information. We should be able to do some things very quickly. And then the long-term goal is I'm positioning myself for the CoCo VGA version of the game, because that's also in the news that we're going to show some of the updates that Brendan Donahue has shown, where you can have all these really cool, you can make your own little tiles and sprites just using a text character. So by me rewriting Cosmic Aliens to work in text mode, it's really laying the foundation for the CoCo VGA version, which is on my list as well. So I'm gonna hopefully be able to serve a lot of purposes with this next version.
Or none at all.
Yeah, here's Grant. There's the miserable troll. Hey, Grant, how you doing?
Hey guys, hey, doing pretty good.
Out from under the bridge?
Oh yeah, I'm out from underneath the bridge.
All right. Are we ready to jump into news?
Hey, let me ask you guys a question before you go there, because I like I told you, Stevie, I delve back in occasionally, take a look at what's going on. Occasionally, I'll see that Nick has worked on some game he worked on, I think a few years back, and a couple other guys have worked on things. My biggest, I use the word regret, although it really isn't on me because I wasn't really a CoCo 3 programmer, but as a user of the CoCo 3, my biggest regret was thinking that the machine had all the potential in the world when it was released and was being sold, and feeling like it never even came close to realizing that potential. It looks to me like in more recent years, since it, his well since died off, is when a few really talented guys have gotten every inch of performance out of that machine. Is there at this point a seminal game that people generally consider, hey, this is number one. This person got the most out of this hardware of anyone who's ever written a game on this system?
There's a few I think would qualify depending what you're shooting for. Sockmaster's Donkey Kong port of the actual arcade game, I think would qualify as one of those.
And the Pac-Man.
And Pac-Man transcode.
Yeah.
And the upcoming Defender transcode, if anybody's seen that at the last fest. I would throw in a few others, even that were some out during the CoCo 3's, the tail end of the heyday, like Xenix or Crystal City or Photon. I would rank up there. Contras, maybe. Though Contras got a few bucks. Or quite solid. But yeah, there's a few. Lode Runner 2000 by Chet, his port of your game, I think, is one that was pushing it pretty far.
Then we got Popstar Pilot. Popstar Pilot's pretty innovative for horizontal scrolling, hardware-based scrolling, and all that kind of. Yeah,
I would love to see that list. A list of hey, these are the games that we think really actually showed off what the machine was capable of.
Yeah, I think it's happening. If you look at any of Simon Jonason's demos, they're doing it. He's pushing the boundaries on stuff. So it's happening. There's definitely a renaissance, I think, of people now making the machine do what it could have done that nobody just had the time or whatever to do back then. And I think part of it too is probably because we have these modern development platforms where we can do it on a modern PC and cross-assemble it and push it over to an emulator and test it. And so the development cycle is now minutes. You can make a change, press a button, and test your change real quickly now. And then just thinking, having the time to think about it. I'm sure like Nick has been we're going to go over Nick's blogs, so Nick's been making games for 30 years. And so he just keeps thinking about, well, what would I like to do next? And how can I push myself? And every new Nick Marenti's game has got some type of new feature and is better than the last one. So,
and Eric, to expand, and this is Paul here, to expand upon what Stevie was just saying, I think a lot of us are here in the community because I, for one, actually feel like we have unfinished business with this system. There's things that, we're still continuing to show what it can actually do, and to be able to continue to develop and do things, even with today's great technology, that's fine. Anybody can put together the, WoW G-Bang type application, but doing it on an 8-bit platform, that really says something. It's impressive to see what some of these guys are doing right now.
Yeah, and another too, and Steve's here too, Z89, incredible, basically clone of Zaxxon for the CoCo 3, and even Rampage. I think Rob Inman the other night when we were in Discord, he's playing Rampage, and he's like, man, this game is so good, it's so playable. It's one of his favorite CoCo 3 games because it's got all the pieces of the arcade, and that was released back then, So,
and especially with Steve's games, some of the commercial games that Radio Shack sold, they were under deadlines, with Tandy, like this game had to be done by this certain time frame, so they didn't have time to go through and optimize it as much as it could have been, or trying to figure out some wacky technique to get things to run faster, like Sockmaster and Nick and others have since. And since Steve's kind of getting back into the programming side of games too, I'm really interested to see what he can do when he's unrestricted and he doesn't have to hit a deadline in 6 weeks or something like that, like he did on his commercial stuff.
Rampage's deadline was 4 weeks.
Yeah, I can't even fathom doing that. When I talked to the guy that did Rescue on Fractals and Cronus Rift, and he did both of those in 10 weeks. He did 6 weeks for the first one, never touched a 689 or a CoCo 3 before in his life. And then he did the first one in 6 weeks, and then the engine on the second one was similar, though a little bit updated, and he did that one in 4. I can't even fathom doing that.
Well, these people are maestros. That's like Haydn doing the Messiah, and he apparently did it in 3 weeks. And everybody was like, how did he do that? That whole great big piece of music. These are the these are the major composers, I suppose, for the CoCo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would count Chet in that. I mean, like I remember him telling me stories about being up for 48 hours straight because he was just on a roll and didn't want to shut down to. And to be honest, on Nitrous 9, Bill and I did that a few times too. And we were doing the early versions of Nitrous 9. You'd suddenly get on a roll and things are just working every time. Every time you add something that worked, you weren't trying to debug. You were actually adding speed or features, and we just kept hammering on it for entire weekends too.
You know what else is going on here is there's some cross-pollination going on, like Simon Jonason. Like he comes up with all these crazy things, but you want any help with assembly or you got something like he's just ready to he's so generous. He really helped Paul Thayer a lot.
Yeah.
And he's been really helpful to me. And even now it's like, I'm working on something. I'm doing a lot of assembly right now. And it's like, I want a background music player. He's like, well, here, let's modify this one a little bit. And here you go. And he's just, as much help as I want, he's giving it to me. It's fabulous, and it's really taking, it's taking my stuff up to another level. And
yeah, and you didn't see that much back in the day too, because people were trying to make a living doing this kind of stuff. So you weren't going to reveal how you did it. Like it was all trade secrets or even company secrets if you're doing ports for other companies and stuff. So you things were a lot more restricted then. It's a much more open community now.
Yeah. There's a lot more knowledge sharing and crowdsourcing of stuff going on right now. So if you got a question, and like Discord is the place to be, right? So things are happening in Discord all the time. Questions are being asked and being answered. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes too, like William Astle, who makes the LWASM tool that everybody's using. That guy is just such he's a human computer. He's got so much knowledge. And he just shares it with you, and you ask a question and it's just boom, you got it. So you look at the panel, there's a lot of expertise here in the panel, and then there's a lot more on Discord. It's got all this knowledge, and you ask a question, it's there, so the ability to kind of, like Bruce said, cross-pollination and knowledge sharing, and the fact that we're now connected, 21st century technology allows us to be online and sharing information, and the ability to learn and produce is so much quicker now because of technology and because of our connectivity and our kind of human network of information we're sharing. It's amazing. So Eric,
can we convince you to come back and write a retro game?
Yeah, that would require learning assembly, and can't see it.
Well, no, there's the CMOC compiler.
There's CMOC compiler,
graphic libraries, etc. that you could use. You could go back to the old C days.
Yeah.
I would never get the kind of performance using C that you guys can get using assembly on it. So I'm just happy to see what the new generation is doing with it.
Well, there's going to be 3 series at least on assembly, so you can pick up any one of those.
You can always cheat a bit, because that's what I'm doing. I'm doing some raw assembly coding for the stuff that's really fast, and for the stuff that's kind of mundane, I'm using the C Basic 3 compiler. So. And just putting them together. Yeah. All comes out as machine code.
How is that C Basic working for? I haven't even tried using that. Is it usable?
You know what? It is. It is actually. There are a couple of things that there's some interesting runtime features it has, which I have not been able to get to work. It's only a couple of things, and it's like. So I don't know, is that broken? Have we got a broken version of that? I don't know. So I just stay away from those couple of runtime things. Otherwise, it's working really well. It's generating code that's working fine. I just, use my speedy routines for other things. And I don't know, I think I got the hang of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Eric, actually, the guy that did the C Basic compiler is Bill Vergona from Vegas. Did you know him back in the day? I know Chet did, because him and Chet were kind of...
Yeah, he kind of. I think he came to a couple of the user group meetings. He was always kind of a little distant from the rest of the group. He was the big name developer in town at the time, so he didn't mingle with us a whole lot. But I had met him and seen him a couple of times.
Oh, so this is the Abe Vigoda guy we're talking about again.
yeah, Bill Vergona.
All right, cool. Well, one of the things I forgot to do, and I don't think I've done this in at least a week or two, is we haven't talked about our sponsors. So before we get into news, how about we talk about sponsors? And since Greg is here, hey, Grant Leedy, anything new and exciting going on with you this week? other than trying to troll and sucking at it?
No, nothing new going on here. I've just been working a lot of extra hours here the last couple of weeks. So I've been working, how life gets in the way of things a lot. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take a minute to.
Hey, Steve,
Yeah,
really quick.
go ahead, Paul.
I just put a post into the YouTube chat for Eric to check out. It's the WinCMOC compiler.
Okay.
All right.
There you go. All right. So let's do this real quick. Let's and so since Eric is not maybe completely up to date on what's going on in the world of CoCo, there are a lot of people out here making content for the CoCo right now. So one of them is a cool project that I'm getting interested in and getting geared up to develop for. But the CoCo VGA is a project where you can, it started off by just adding VGA output to a CoCo 2 since, giving it a more modern display output, but it's kind of evolved into not only adding artifacts over RGB and VGA, but he's added extra modes. He's got a 64 column by 32 column mode. He's added palette registers, now user definable character sets. So the CoCo VGA is basically a CoCo on steroids. And so it's making a CoCo 2 as close to a CoCo 3 as it can be without having a gimme chip in it. So that's a cool project there. It works with the Dragon and everything else. Is Richard still with us? Yeah, Richard Lorbieski of Boyson Technologies. So Richard's making memory upgrades, and he's making joypad adapters, Paradigm joypad adapters. Richard sells 6309s. He does hardware upgrades and repairs. So Boyson Technologies is a new hardware vendor for the color computer, 21st century. Retro Innovations, Jim Brain, friend of the show, troll of the show. Jim Brain makes modern hardware for Commodore systems, TI systems, and CoCo stuff. And so Jim Brain's always got something brewing. Jim Brain's working on an 8-slot multi-pack interface for the CoCo, so that's kind of cool. Cloud9 Technologies has been here for over 20 years, right? So by the way, the websites were CoCoVGA.com, BOYSON, BoysonTech.com. Retro Innovations is retro.com. Cloud, 9 tech.com. So Mark Marlette and Cloud9 Technology is always working on something. Other cool projects out there. So the SD pack is a really cool way to make an SD card in your CoCo SDC cartridge boot up like a ROM pack. So if you want to make an instant loading CoCo program, a cool website to make that happen. With us on the program, Jason Reichard, making one of the greatest selling products for the color computer, the Switcheroo RGB to SCART cable, where you can hook up your CoCo 3 and get it to convert to HDMI and show up on a modern display. Very cool stuff. We're also live streaming on Roku. For those of you who've got Ron Delvaux at Mission Control, are we coming through on Roku? How's that satellite uplink?
Yes, we are. In fact, I talked to Roger a little bit ago, and he asked, worked well, and I said, "Yep, everything went nice."
Ron's like that guy, the guy in the chair, right? He's just he got his eye on everything. He's got his finger and everything. So yeah, we have some retro swag stuff here that a lot of the artwork for the show you can get on T-shirts and coffee mugs. So we've got CoCoTALK T-shirts, coffee mugs, and stuff. I've put together a website of color computer links because there's so many blogs and project sites. So there's a website called I'mACoCoNut.com. The show we're on right now, CoCoTALK, has its own website, CoCoTalk.live, and there's links where you can email us, and it's also got links to replay the YouTube videos. We're also a podcast, so you can listen to all the episodes there on the website or subscribe to them on a podcast player. The CoCo Crew podcast has been 4 years now. They've been around, right? So the CoCo Crew has been a podcast for 4 years. They're on episode 40. Big promoters of CoCo Fest. So the CoCo Crew has been basically a 4-hour infomercial for CoCo Fest. It's been going on 4 years now. So once a month you get news and tech reviews and stuff on the CoCo Crew podcast. So check them out at cococrew.org. I finally finished listening to this month's episode. Good show, as always. Good friend of the show. Oh, I've got to fix this. Brian asked me to fix this and I forgot. Sorry, Brian. There's a new link for this for Brian's blog site. I got to fix that. So Extructus Productions. Right now we'll stick with fd501.com, but I've got to fix that link. And then Ed Snyder. Ed Snyder is like the modern Da Vinci of hardware. Ed Snyder makes the CoCo SDC. He makes sound cards. He's working on a multi-pack with built-in sound chip and serial ports. He's got a CoCo 3 keyboard replacement. He's doing 3D printing now. What doesn't Ed Snyder do? So Ed Snyder
working on the Gimme X too, which
working
is
on a new Gimme replacement chip. So Ed Snyder is definitely the CoCo hardware renaissance man. So you can check out his projects at the Zipster Zone, ZIPPSTER zone.com. So that's kind of cool. Another thing I haven't done in a while is I haven't talked about how many views we've gotten or feedback or things like that. So I thought I would just pull that up. And these numbers were taken this morning, but we are on the podcast version of our show. We are very close to 13,000 downloads of the show. So another new milestone. We just hit 10,000 not too long ago. And I also tracked what were some of the most downloaded episodes in the past 30 days. So CoCoTALK After Dark number 16, which I think that's our latest one. It's only about a week old, but that's been the most downloaded show in the past 30 days. Both the audio and visual versions of that show. So actually, yeah, CoCoTALK After Dark's getting a lot of podcast replay time. Episode 75, VCF Midwest, done pretty good in the past 30 days. All time downloaded shows, video episode 59, Memorial Day weekend. That's got the most downloads. It's interesting that we only added video podcast recently, and their numbers are already starting to take over the audio stuff, right? And so the fact that we were basically a live show and we became an audio podcast as just a kind of a secondary market, and now we're a video podcast. People are liking the video shows, so it's there. So on iTunes and Google Play and all those places, wherever you get free podcasts, you can get all your back episodes of CoCoTALK. We're there. And we got some feedback. So we had a discussion last weekend on CoCoTALK After Dark about adding cartridges and who wants a cartridge. And I know some people are for them, some people are against them. But William Locklear says, I would buy Popstar Pilot on a cartridge for $40. No brainer. Take my money, right? Well, we got into that discussion. And of course, now we got a response from the CoCo Crew podcast, which I'm assuming is John Linville. And I know Nick Marentes said, listen, I don't want to do a cartridge because I want to keep the price of my software low to the consumer. Nick Marentes is trying to worry about consumer costs, which is great. But one of the things that John Linville or whoever responded from the CoCo Crew, they said, if you want to develop on a cartridge, you don't have to pay that money, right? So they will produce the cartridges for you and sell them for you and just give you the royalty, right? So there is no upfront cost to cartridge production. So just in case anybody wasn't aware of that, that's out there. And then we have William Locklear again, since I agree with you, it would be totally worth the extra cost. He's willing to pay $30 to $40 for a game on a cartridge. So we have at least one other person besides me who says, yeah, I would pay for a cartridge. Now, here's John Linville talking about the price, saying, listen, how much is something, how much do you think people are willing to pay for software? He uses Atari Age as an example. People are buying cartridge games for the Atari 2600, 5200, 7800, Atari 800 systems. So people are buying cartridges for retro systems, and they're not worried about the price of those cartridges. $20, $30, $40 is the average price of a cartridge. I got a comment on a very old video. So John Stinnett commented on the first time I did a review of Dungeons of Daggereth, which is probably one of my more embarrassing videos. But he goes, yeah, that was one of my favorite games. William Locklear again, he just given us a shout out here saying, look, I really like your show. Even if, and he says they might not get a ton of likes on YouTube, whatever, but he's like, I love CoCoTALK episodes. Keep up the good work. And, Eric Canales is not with us, but he was on an After Dark, a week or two ago. And his only comment was, Eric doesn't say much. So, Eric Canales is he's a soft-spoken man, right? So he's, but he is possibly one of the future leaders of Glenside Color Computer Club. Who knows, right? So a little feedback there. And anybody want to chime in on any of that? I know I kind of blew through that quickly.
Popstar Pilot is on cartridge.
There is no convincing Nick Marentes about a cartridge. This is never going to happen. So
that's like porting it to OS 9.
It's on a cartridge. I've got a cartridge. I can unplug it, plug it in, and bring up Popstar Pilot. Everyone has who has a CoCo SDC.
Yeah. We're never going to change Nick's mind on that. All right. Well, we're here with some news. Let's hear some Curtis Boyle music. Woo! Rock out there, baby.
That was awesome.
Oh, so Richard Lorgabieski says, when I play a CoCo game online, I ruin somebody's childhood. All right. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind. And thank you.
All right. So in the news, as I was mentioning the CoCo VGA project, so Brendan Donahue recently posted to Facebook some pictures of his SG4 editor. So if, for those of you not aware, the CoCo text screen is every character on the screen is made up of what is it, 8 by 12 pixels? I think that's what it is. We could probably count these blocks
Something
there.
like that, yeah.
8 by 12, right? So every letter on your screen is made up of 8 by 12 pixels. Now, we usually cannot address those pixels in text mode. We can only put one character on the screen. What Brendan has come up with for the CoCo VGA project is he's got an editor now where we can edit what each of these characters look like. Now, the in the text screen on the CoCo, we had what was known as these semi-graphics modes, where it took that same character and it broke it into 4 squares. So you had any combination of these 4 squares being black and one other color. And so this mode is known, 1980 just called it, wants its fax machine back. Yeah, so the SG4 mode looks like these 4 blocks here. But Brendan has given us the ability to actually bitmap modify any of our fonts and characters either as text or graphics mode and up to the 8 foreground colors. So I think this opens up a lot of possibilities for making games that you can just print characters right on the screen very, very quickly, right? So here you can see how he's making like upper and lowercase characters, some trees, some heart characters, bombs, smiley faces, right? So, and here it's kind of hard to see the picture, but he's actually got all the Space Invader symbols in 8 different colors. So he's got the different invaders and the spaceship. And these would be just one character that you could print on the screen very quickly. And with his updates, we've got 64 columns by 32 lines. He's doubled the effective. What is Grant saying? He just fell asleep? Screw you, Greg. You want to take over the show? I'll go have lunch. I'm getting hungry. You guys want Greg to take over? So I just think this is a really cool project, and I'll shut up on that now because apparently I'm talking too much for Greg. Anyone else want to say anything about this? Anyone? No?
I think they're all asleep, Stevie.
Yeah. Awesome. Screw you, Greg. All right. So
I don't have my crickets. Sorry.
So this is the download for the site. Go ahead. Was somebody getting ready to talk?
Yeah, I was just going to say the editor that he wrote is actually, just because we were talking about CMOC earlier, I believe he wrote that in CMOC, so it's in that C language for RSTOS.
Okay. So I like the CoCo VGA for what it's worth. Now this came up recently too, and I think this also might be a good tool. And we're talking about getting people writing software, getting people interested in making software. So Sheldon McDonald is working on a BASIC interpreter that runs on a modern PC. So you can write a program in BASIC using a full screen editor. You can actually try before you buy, so to speak, and see what the program's going to look like on your modern PC and develop basic software and not even need an emulator, right? And then when it's done, I guess you would just port the code over to an emulator or a CoCo. So this is still a work in progress, but this is be a new tool if somebody wants to write in. The problem I had with Cosmic Aliens when I was working on it, and John Strong came to the rescue and gave me an editor, was trying to write a program using the actual 32 column by 16 line green screen with a really crappy editor. It's very cumbersome to write your program, right? So having a modern editor is definitely a useful tool for rapid deployment, right? So this is a project I want to keep my eyes on, and hopefully we'll get some more people interested in writing software for the CoCo. He's even saying that you could run it in his environment and it'll run like 10 times faster. So if you wanted to run like an uber fast basic game using this tool, you could do it, you know? Crickets? Cool. Crickets? Nobody cares about that? No, I'm the only one that's excited about that. All right, we're moving on. Greg, you want to host a show? I'll go home. I'm done. I can go. I can press the button. I'll just press the button. I'll go home. Nobody gives a shit right now. All right, so
we're just waiting for the DEF CON to kick in. So
all right, so
DEF CON 2.
This one I thought was really cool too. So Paul Shoemaker has been talking about this for a while, but and so he's working on a wizardry clone called Sorcery, right? And this looks really good. Yeah. And he says he's running this one in BASIC right now, but he's going to work on some assembly routines to speed up his fonts and everything. And it's, again, so we're talking about wanting more games for the CoCo, wanting more software for the CoCo. Well, here's one of them, right? And this looks neat. This is a neat project. So this goes to show that you don't necessarily have to know assembly to make something. You know, you just want to scratch the itch, as the saying goes.
This is one I'm very interested in. I mean, the two ultimate role-playing games back in the day, the early days of the 8-bits, were the Ultima series and the Wizardry series. And we had Ultima clones. We had multiple ones. We had a CoCo 3 one, 7th Link. We had Gates of Delirium for the CoCo 1 and 2, and Paladin's Legacy as well. And we never did really have a really good Wizardry clone. I think Prickly Pear had announced one. I can't remember if it actually came out. I never did see it. But this is something I definitely would have liked back in the day, and for nostalgia reasons, I'll probably play it.
Yeah,
modern.
Yeah, so that looks kind of cool. So that's a CoCo project in the making. So software is out there. Ed Snyder, right? So we talked about Ed Snyder. Ed Snyder makes hardware for the CoCo, and Ed Snyder just recently revealed that he can now print three-dimensional objects, right? So not only is he making circuit boards and inventing space-age technology, Area 51 level stuff for the CoCo, he can now wrap some plastic around it too. So this is one such rendering here. This is his RGB to S-video circuit board. Jason, you have this, right? You were showing us off earlier, right? Jason still with us, or is he sleeping? All right. So anyway, so this is one of Ed Snyder's little deals here. I think it looks pretty cool. And so who knows what we can expect from the Zipster in the future, right? So 3D printed cases, cats and dogs living in harmony.
I'm sorry, can you repeat? What does that do again?
What does this is the RGB to S video.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Greg just woke up. All right. So
looks like a garage door opener.
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
All right. So
doesn't have a clip on the bottom for the visor.
Talking about tools for helping to develop. This tool has been around for a while. Simon Jonassen started this, the semi-graphics editor screen, right, where you can basically work on that 32 by 16, 64 by 32 graphics mode, right? So, so Davey Mitchell just posted that there's an update here. So SG Edit 2.3 is out, and this is what it looks like here. It's just an editor, and you could basically click on a symbol here and just start making CoCo graphics on your screen, right? And so you can pick all your different colors, and you could paint things in here. You could use solid blocks, and so you could very quickly make some CoCo artwork, right? And then it'll save it out and into source code in either BASIC or assembly, where you could then just take that and copy and paste it into your editor and do some software. So it's a nice tool for getting graphics. Did you use this for Forest of Doom, Bruce Moore?
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. And of course, that's another from Simon Jonassen, right?
Simon Jonassen, and then Davey Mitchell's been just tweaking it a little bit.
Yeah. And I may be using it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another useful tool to help speed up getting stuff done.
Does it support CoCo VGA yet? Like the 6432 rails and stuff?
It does not, but I wouldn't imagine that wouldn't be too hard to do. I think the only challenge becomes now, because CoCo VGA has an infinite character set, you know, you could do it with the standard character set, but once you get into custom characters, but yeah,
if they add an editor for the individual characters, then you can kind of map out your 128 by 64 screens and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that would be kind of cool. So there's a link. Everything I'm showing you right now, there's a link to in the description of this video. There's also links to this on amacoconut.com. I think this is under resources. So if you go to amacoconut.com, the SG edit tools there under resource. So this has been updated, and you notice you can output to assembly, and it would basically create the assembly code here. It's got all the data for what you want to do. You can output it to BASIC, and it writes a little BASIC program with the data and does the DIMMs, and it loads all the data into the screen, and you could just, print it onto your screen. It will output to a comma delimited file, so you can just copy and paste the raw data and use it however you want. It's all in decimal.
That's sweet because you can copy it and save it, and then if you can go back and edit it again, load it up and change stuff later.
Yeah. Sweet. And actually, one thing that I think would be nice if I was to put in a feature request would be able to save this as a bin file, where you could just create your things, save them as a bin file, and load them directly into your CoCo. So to be able to download those bin files and drag them onto a virtual floppy would be a nice feature, and not even have to worry about the code. So if you just wanted to make a title screen for your game and you didn't want to have to code it, you could just save it and load it, and poof, it's on the screen.
That'd be cool.
So yeah, this is a community resource that's been out there, and it's been continuing to be updated. So nice tool. Good job, Simon and Davey. And here we go. Jason Reichert, Jason the CoCo Man, when he got his haul last week, he said, look, I got my MC10 and it's working. It's holding the door open, right? So
MC10.
There we go. A little MC10 sound drop for you.
Perfect.
So, it also supports Windows, because Richard has showed us that too. The MC10 will support a Windows.
MC10 Windows support.
And another picture here from Jason the CoCo Man Reichert, maker of the switcheroo. Looks like he's in production for a new round of RGB to SCART cables. How's the supply and demand going there, Jason? Is Jason with us? Is this thing on? Hello? Anyone? Bueller? Jason's not even here, so I'm asking the crickets, right? So there we go. Oops, wrong button. But that's probably how how Richard feels right now. So there we go. There's your crickets. So here we go. RGB to SCART cables.
So who has the best SCART cables? Is it CoCo Man or is it Poison Tech?
No, it's Barry Nelson.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, that's
depending on what you wanted.
Didn't Barry do the original design?
Barry had but he never mass produced it. I was the first one that did it. Jason added a switch to his. Mine had the I broke out the audio portion to where you can hook up like an Orchestra 90 or a stereo or something like that would pipe through your HDMI.
Yeah. This strikes me as another example of the community kind of, being okay with people taking something and moving it on.
Yeah.
Simon did that with his SG edit, and now somebody else is working on it, and this is just another example. It's awesome.
Just wait till Tandy Assembly. I'll take care of Jason. Don't worry.
Oh yeah.
Whoa!
He's gonna pull a Tanya Harding on him there, and
that's right.
Club him in the hamstring. So maybe we can save Gunstar for a core dump here. So we'll get back to that. But I did enjoy reading this, and what I love about Nick's blogs is they're perfect for me because they're not technical. They're easy, plain English, and they've got lots of pretty pictures, right? So here's Nick showing off his 3-layer graphics on the Gimme. So he's actually one-upped what the 2-layer design was supposed to do. And he gets really into how he's, doing his filling out his pages and handling his background layer and his sprite layer, and how he's handling clipping where his objects can go off the screen and how he can pan through the screen. So he really explains his process and how he can even overlay text in front of that. So 3-layer graphics, it's a great blog write-up, and maybe Nick can share some more details on that in a core dump here just shortly. So we'll come back to that. But here we go. Here is Eric. I found your original post, Eric. You had posted this back a while ago where you had posted Lode Runner, your GitHub for it, the open source. So right. I found that link, and there's links to all these in the descriptions. I got a bunch of links for you, Eric, for your websites and your videos and stuff like that. So I found one of your earlier postings on that, the source code for that, the GitHub on that. Now this one's another tool. It's still in the works, but Eric, potential future president of Glenside Canales, is working on an IDE. For those who don't know, it's not just a hard drive technology, but it's also an integrated development environment. So he's going to be working on something to work on CoCo stuff where you can develop software and have it spit out to disk images, the whole 9 yards. So he's kind of talking about his plans for that here. So that will be interesting to see what Eric comes up with this. And so as far as I'm concerned, I guess you can't have too many tools or too many ways to give people choices on how to make software, and people will choose what tool they want to use, right? So, but choices are good, right? So again, another thing that might just, get some more people making software. So that's out there. What else did I have this week? Okay, so this was a big can of worms, right? So this guy was a new member to Facebook, and his first post as a new member was, "Hey, does anybody here have any information on hidden graphics modes on the Gimme chip? I've heard they held some back so as not to compete with the PC line." So he just started off opening up a big old Gimme can of worms, right? So there's a very long thread about this. Here's Michael Jackson eating some pies of William Carlin's like, yeah, I just want to sit back and watch this happen, right? Neil Blanchard says, I want to believe, right? So it's a very long thread here, which we won't get into, but I just thought that was funny to, your first post, your first day as a user of the Facebook group. And yeah, let's talk about some gimme myths here, right?
Like the first day on the farm and you step right in a pile of...
So, welcome to the Facebook community there, David. Hopefully you enjoyed your first post and and all the activity you got from it. So that was kind of cool.
Who was the other part of the conversation? I mean, I basically said no, but I mean, who was giving other comments in that?
Oh no, well John Linville posted his link to 256 color artifact on NTSC. Which I think Barry mentioned was also an option and stuff. But yeah, no, it was kind of interesting that, the question came up. And another thing that was posted this week, I think this was posted by Carlos Camacho, but he posted an article. It's not a new article, but this is basically promoting Basic 09. So if you want to write a program that's going to run faster than your normal color Basic, if you know Basic, and you might want to try Basic 09. And Curtis could probably tell us why it's better, faster, stronger.
Lots of reasons.
Yeah. So there's an article there. And a late breaking one that Curtis just explained to me this morning, or this afternoon before we went live with the show, but Bosco, right? Steve Bamford, who made Flagon Bird, has been working on a project now, and he's added Game Master cartridge support. So this is using the Tandy sound chip that was on the Tandy 1000. This is a sound chip that's available if somebody wants to produce a cartridge through John Linville's production company, Retro Tinker, but it's also a chip that I guess you could just get and use yourself. So so he's updated his work in progress game to use it, and I think the music sounds really good. So I thought we would go ahead and show this off here. This is showing what you could do with a CoCo if it had a sound chip, right? So sounds pretty good, don't it?
Yep.
I like his fonts.
Yeah, it's a really good usage of P Mode 1, which is actually fairly low res.
Yeah.
I feel like going out in polka now.
Yeah, so great little title screen here. And we'll fast forward to the gameplay here a little bit. Here we go. So we're getting to the gameplay. One day in a faraway island. What happened here? The people just turned into birds. So this looks like a platformer, like a Mario style game to a degree, right? Some background music, foreground sound effects. I think this looks well, plays well, sounds well.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah. So good job there, Steve Bamford, Bosco.
Is this for release yet?
Nope. He's still work in progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, this is one of the things that's happened in Discord, right? So he's got a channel for this, so he's been sharing the development on this.
Right.
You know, a lot of things happen in Discord.
This is one cartridge I'd buy.
There you go, right? So, and this is,
Sound chip and all, yep.
yeah, and
Something
this
just froze over.
this is being prototyped for the Game Master cartridge, right? So the nice thing about that Game Master cartridge is it's emulated on both MAME and on XROAR, so you could develop for it and use the sound chip and get it all working without having to spend any money on hardware, right? So, exactly. So I think that's one of your things, Nick, is that if you you have a certain threshold for what you consider a cartridge worthy project, and you're saying this is one that's it.
That's right. This is a very high level, a high quality game, and it's got the sound chip, and yeah, for that I would buy it on a cartridge.
There you go. Well, the technology is out there. The truth is out there, if you want to believe. All right, so how about we save the best for last here now, as we're going to talk about Nick's Gunstar. Why don't we play a little core dump intro graphic here for you, because this is a professional show here, folks. So we're going to talk software development here with Core Dump and Nick Marentes here right after this. The toilet has spoken.
That's right.
And
well, that's right. So everyone's seen my blog that I posted this week about what I've been doing with Gunstar. And the main thing with this was to get the scrolling working in for the game itself. Basically the whole game engine, or the main game engine. So the idea, I don't know if you can bring up the website so that way I can reference that. Yeah, so I basically talk a bit about the 6309. So that's my new direction now in writing games, switching to the 6309. So I figured that there's enough people out there who have upgraded to a 6309 to run things like Nitrous 9 and all that. There's not many other programs out there, but Nitrous 9 is the main program that people would be upgrading their CoCos to a 6309. So I figured there's enough out there, I might as well use it. And I'm basing Gunstar on a graphics engine that I developed on the TRS-80 Model 1 back in 1984. It was a way of trying to create a logical multiple planes and then have the sprites and overlays and stuff. But on the CoCo, of course, it wasn't really, I couldn't use the same engine because the size of the video display was so much bigger. On the TRS-80, it only took a 1K area of memory, and that was your screen. So doing a lot of copying of screens around wasn't too bad. But on a CoCo, it's just a bit too much RAM and it'd be just too slow. I did try using, earlier on, I did experiment and try using the stack blasting technique, but it still wasn't quite up there. I just wasn't happy with the speed. And then I thought, oh, well, let's try the TFM command, the 6309 specific command, and using the 6309 native mode for a bit of a speed up as well. And it works great, and it works great with any interrupt routines that you're running. And that was perfect for my interrupt driven sound routines and doing the copy all with the TFM. So yeah, the website basically explains how the scrolling works. So I won't go into any of those details. You can read about it. But basically, I set up a display which is a bit wider than the display mode that I'm actually going to be using. So, and I set up 2 background buffers, which is the wider screen, just going up a bit. If you scroll up a little bit, those ones there. So I set up 2 buffers with the screen that I've chosen, 188 pixels across. So they're not actually modes that get displayed, but they're like in memory as buffers. and I create the scrolling and the backdrops. Well, I'm going to create the backdrops. That's my next part of it. But the idea is I create the backdrop on one of those buffers, and then I copy that entire buffer to a second buffer. Then I use that second buffer to add any sprites over it. And then when all the sprites are on there, I then copy the portion of that buffer to an actual display mode or area of memory which is actually displayed. And I've chosen a slightly narrower display mode. So what that effectively does is it cuts off the excess amounts of that buffer that I had before, cuts them off, and you only see the portion in the middle. So that has a few benefits. I can actually choose what part of the buffer I'm going to display and cut off. So that gives me the flexibility that I can actually move that display left and right. So when playing the game, not only will it all scroll downwards, it will also allow you to fly a bit to the left and move the screen to the left or to the right. So I have got left and right panning as well. And the thing is, the Gimme chip does have a lot of that ability already in it. You do have a horizontal wide display and all that, but the benefits of this engine is that it gives me a bit more flexibility. The horizontal scroll is 1 byte, and also it has the benefit whereby once I've created one frame with all the sprites and it's all truncated, how do I get back and do the next frame? Normally I would have to restore the background and get all the background back to the way it was and then redraw the sprites. Well, with this way, because I have buffer 1, which is the actual buffer that's being scrolled, I just use the TFM command in the 6309 to copy the currently scrolled display to the second buffer. Straight away, it restores the background, so you're back to a clean slate and you just start putting sprites on it again. So basically, it makes the sprite management so much easier. I don't have to worry about cleaning up after all my sprite routines. But the engine itself will automatically wipe it and give me a clean slate. As a benefit, I explained about the double buffering. It also works with the double buffering. So everything is buffered. There's no flickering. And after the double buffering, I do also therefore have a third logical plane whereby I'll be printing all the text. So regardless of what's happened underneath, explosions, aliens, the background scrolling, I can place the score and anything else. I mean, they're all dummy graphics on the website, but I can just put anything I want over it, and that's going to be superimposed effectively over everything else. So that's the engine. The biggest problem is it going to be fast enough with all that copying of RAM? Because I'm copying I think the displays end up being 21K. So 21K is a fair bit to copy, and I do the copy a few times. So I do copy a fair bit. So that's the benefits I mentioned with the TFM command. It is a fairly fast copy. But the benefits of the engine, the fact that I don't have to keep track of the sprite backgrounds, and it's easy to just bring back the background I was working on as a clean frame to start putting the sprites on once they've moved. I'm hoping that the benefits there will outweigh the disadvantages of doing so much copying. The fact it's doing all this copying means I can have a lot of sprites, say, depending on how much time I've still got left. I can actually just load up the screen with as many sprites as I want, knowing that I don't have to clean up after them. So I'm hoping that the game will look pretty, how do you call it? A lot of graphics happening at once.
Yeah.
Now, this is also happening while my two-channel sound effect interrupt-driven sound routine is working in the background. So whatever time I'm losing because of that, it still is at the moment. It's running at a good, roughly 20 frames per second. I think I worked out clip scrolling the background and doing the sound effects. And the sound effects are the sound effects from my chapter 3, I think it is, on my blog. So they're full on explosions and gunshots and everything. So I'm happy with the speed. When I add the sprites, it may slow things down a bit more, but I think considering the amount of graphics that are going to be moving on the screen and the amount of sound that will be coming out of the game, I'm happy with the results so far. So my next stage is now to replace all that dummy graphics you're seeing on the website and have it actually doing the proper terrain that the game will have. So that means, like Chet said earlier on, he likes to create his own tools, his own sprite editors.
That's Eric.
Eric, rather.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm the same. So I'm at the moment writing a tile edit. The creation of the tiles I just do on the, I've got the Amiga and I just draw them up on that. But then I have a map editor, as I call it, which takes those tiles I created, and then it's a palette whereby I can just pick a tile and draw them out on the screen, and I just do the entire landscape terrain. I just create it all. It creates a file, and the game will eventually will print those tiles as the background that you will see scrolled. So I'm hoping for a fairly detailed looking background, more detailed than anything else we've seen. So
nice.
Fingers crossed it all works out. But that's basically the status on Gunstar.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So
Bruce here. I'm impressed with the so you lose a bit of time because you're doing this sort of triple screen business, but then the fact that you don't have to clean up after however many sprites you use, you kind of get that back. Hopefully,
that's right. Well, that's the hope.
That's pretty awesome.
It makes up for the loss. So far, it's looking good, looking and sounding good. I'm just wondering if I'll have enough time to put all the sprites that I want. If not, it's still going to look all right. So,
yeah,
like we've said before, with every game that you do, you're always trying to be better than the last game. So I'm trying to make it even better than my last game. So,
that's a tough act to follow there, but
I agree.
I say the same thing every game I do, and then when I finish, I say, "Gee, I can do that still a bit better." So yeah, it's always. I don't know if I'll ever get to the peak of the mountain, but that's all right. The journey is a reward.
Oh yeah,
and all the Ferraris.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. I got 2 already. So
yeah, but I mean, I really like your blogs because I can follow
them. Does Bruce Moore have a blog?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, Stevie actually doesn't read the blogs. He just likes looking at the pictures.
And they're pretty pictures, yeah. If you could make a blog coloring book, that would be awesome.
It'll have to be paint by numbers, though. So.
We should have a CoCoTALK comic book.
Oh.
Just imagine.
That would be cool.
Yeah, model it right after those Radio Shack Whiz Kids. Yeah. We could put Stevie in there.
Eric's got a little person with him there. Hello, little person. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, only keep her away for so long.
Yeah. What a cutie, huh?
Future coder.
Yeah. Yeah, Rob Inman says Nick Rentis has got that pop star pilot money. So, but hey, Nick, tell Eric. I mean, you sold what are your numbers now roughly on Pop Star Pilot? Close to 200 now, right?
Not 200, but about 110.
I thought we were well over 150.
No, not quite 150. No, it's about 110, 115 maybe.
Okay, but a decent number of new software being sold. It's a good number. Cool stuff. Well, thanks for doing that. All right. Well, I do have to try to wrap up the show now fairly quickly, just because I've got a lot of things going on this afternoon with family. So I'm definitely on board for doing an after dark in a couple hours tonight. So if we want to maybe agree to get back together around 9 p.m. my time, which would be 4 hours from now, I'm not sure who else is available to do that, because this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is a show that I would like to not end right now, because we've talked about a lot, but maybe we leave everybody wanting more, and pick it up. So just start thinking about who's available tonight. And anybody have any parting thoughts, words of wisdom, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, if you get a chance, watch on Netflix, Halt and Catch Fire.
Is it on Netflix now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been on Netflix.
I've been watching it. It's pretty cool. They have a scene in one of the first part of the series. They use a Model 3 to do some coding or something, and that's about it. Tandy's mentioned a couple times, but there's no influence from Tandy whatsoever, or any kind of mention.
Because they're trying to basically clone the PC in season 1.
This thing is basically about Compaq and how it got going.
Gotcha. So yeah, I watched season 1, and Rick Adams had done the Colossal Cave Adventure web-based simulation for that, and I think that's still online. If you go to AMC, somewhere on their website, you can see Rick Adams.
Yeah, that was for. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was for season 3.
Oh, season 3 was it? Okay.
Yeah, and that covers most of the 90s. That's when the .com boom was going on and the browser wars and.
What did he do?
He well, because they got into the Colossal Cave Adventure game, and they contacted him because he's got a website on it, and he actually wrote a web-based version for the AMC website, where if you go to Halt and Catch Fire on the internet, you can play a simulation of that adventure game, and it looks like a CRT terminal and the whole 9 yards. And so,
cool.
Rick Adams did that for them.
Yeah, the first season of the Halt and Catch Fire was about creating a PC clone.
Mm-hmm.
Later seasons are about an analog of America Online.
Okay, interesting.
And it's more of a drama than it is a history of computers.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not historically accurate.
It's
kind of giving you the feel what it was like.
Yeah, not least.
It's a very good series, though.
A lot of things are out of sequence.
What's the other one that's new that they're showing off CRTs and Commodore monitors? There's a new Netflix series that's got a lot of 80s tech in it too, like this alternate reality one. What's that one called, Ron?
I can't remember which one that is.
Yeah, so there's a new series on Netflix that's about these people who take some type of experimental drug or something like that, and and they're showing off
Maniac or something.
Maniac, yeah. So it's a new Netflix series, but it's based on kind of this alternate reality where we're still using Commodore monitors on our computers and things like that. So it's kind of cool. I haven't watched it yet, but yeah.
There's a lot of Commodores in this series, Halt and Catch Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other funny thing about that series too is they tried to make it like they're out in Silicon Valley, but if you know your geography real well, you can tell it's in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia.
A show that just went off the air is The Americans, and a lot of the computer hardware shown in that show was donated by the VCF.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Or loaned, not donated, but loaned.
Okay. Is Eric still with us? I definitely want to thank Eric. Eric, thanks for being with us today. And
appreciate it. Appreciate the time. Had a lot of fun.
And we do this every week, same time, and we're on Discord all the time. So feel free to stop by Discord anytime. And whenever you got a Saturday free, you want to come in and listen to us old guys talk about this old machine, you're welcome.
Don't just show up. Just could you take over the show and host it, please?
Have you
big shoes to fill. I can manage that.
Have you put any of your CoCos up on the Facebook Tandy thing? You know, we have a section for show us your Tandy color computer. You can put it there, or on the CoCo one, just show us your stuff.
No, but you know what? I had this picture and I posted it for just like a day, and then it struck me. I didn't get permission, so I pulled this down. So I work for General Motors, and we have a technology center out here, and there's a guy who has a 4K CoCo 1 sitting on top of his cabinet, and he has the receipt from when he bought it framed
Oh,
on
wow.
his desk.
Oh, that's cool.
And he has no clue that any of this stuff still goes on, but he just
Yeah.
did like that. That's his baby from way back when. And so
Wow.
I took a picture of it and it posted it for a bit, but not having had permission, I decided, I should take that down.
Yeah.
And I see it every day. I walk by, I see this old CoCo 1 up on his cabinet.
Eric, I have a serious question. Do you still have your MM1?
I do. Not function. It won't boot, but I have it.
I have some software for it. I might have boot disks. I don't know. You have a floppy on there?
I do, and I tried to get it booted up because I couldn't remember the change I had to make to get it to boot from the hard drive instead of the floppy drive, and what I could do to reverse that, because I'm sure it would boot off the floppy, but I couldn't remember how to do it, and I stopped trying a couple of years ago, I think.
Do you have a?
Is that your little one?
I have a MM1 manual, if that'll help.
Yeah, I think we had to, in order to get it to boot off the hard drive, it was some hack that we did, well after it was actually released. So I don't know. It's possible one day I might get it up and running again, but it's still sitting out there.
Oh, one of the things I wanted to ask you, Eric, when you were talking about developing your game for the MM1, I know it has some 68,000 series processor, which is the spiritual successor to the CoCo, but what was the graphics and sound hardware like on that machine? It didn't have a gimme, did it?
No, it's a 68070 Signetics processor. Same thing that was used in Philips CDI, if I recall. Graphics I don't recall it having any specifically special graphics hardware, no graphics processor like the gimme. Had some audio hardware, and that helped in, as opposed to multi-threaded programming like a lot of folks do in modern systems today. With OS 9, I just forked off another process and it handled all the audio, and didn't detract the slightest bit from the graphics, but I don't recall the details of the audio processor it had.
Okay.
Wasn't it like CGA, I think, or?
No, it was much higher than that. It had 24-bit color, and it was up to, 256 colors on the screen at once, if I remember, Eric?
Yes.
I was only using 24 in the game, but yeah, you could have.
I think I had.
And it had DMA too, which I think was helping with some of the sound and some of the graphics too, because you could blast stuff across, like the TFM
Yes.
Nick was talking about.
I think I had a CM11 attached to it. I think.
I had my
Okay.
CM8 connected to mine because it's actually RGB.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it
Very
is 16 million color palette, just like Super VJ, and it did. I think the resolution was normally 640 by 480, and it also had an overscan mode for 720 by 540 or something.
Okay.
I also had a lower res mode too, which is what I was using, like 320 by 200 or by 220 or 240 or something like that.
What's your daughter's name? She's cute.
Kinsey.
Kenzie?
Kinsey.
Kenzie. Hey, Kenzie. How are you? She probably can't hear us, right? Because you got the headphones on.
No, she's clueless.
Is she 2?
She is 21 months. About to turn 21 months.
Close enough. See, Ron's satellite uplinks know everything. He's.
Yep.
He's
Do you have another one there?
This is just the young. So there's a 7-year-old, and there's a 19-year-old, and a 26-year-old.
Wow.
Holy smokes! You're going to be at Kids at Home for a long while.
Yeah. Don't know what to do when I am no longer a parent. So just kept having them. Starting over again.
Were you getting ready to say something, David Ladd?
Yes. I don't know if anybody remembers the Philips Magnavox CDI machine.
Uh-huh.
Same hardware, as far as I remember, as the MM1.
Yes, the Signetic 68070.
Interesting.
And the MM1 does not have a hardware text mode like most computers that you are used
Oh,
to.
so they're
Everything is all in graphics.
So it's kind of like a Mac in that sense there. The original Macintosh systems.
Yeah, that's if you boot up the MM1 and look at the text screen, you notice that you can see it drawing or scrolling, and that's why, because it's all graphics.
Cool.
Interesting machine, though.
Huh. Cool. So Chad in the live chat says, Eric, you should chase up the guys from American Pickers and see if they can find some TRS-80s for us. All right. All right. So, any other parting thoughts before we get ready to wrap up the show?
I'll come on tonight, maybe.
Okay.
Anybody
Yeah,
else?
I move that we have
I'll come.
Richard host tonight.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will. Yes.
Earlier in the show, you mentioned the 8-bit guy, and he recently posted a question on the Facebook group about getting the CoCo 3 to work with an RGB display.
Right. And I think he got it sorted out too. He said he had put it on backwards. The pinout or whatever connector was upside down.
Right,
So,
and that means he's doing. He said he's doing a video on the CoCo 3 coming up.
yeah, that's cool.
There was a nuclear blast by Bruce Moore.
Anybody else in the call be able to join us tonight? We'll have a special host that won't be me, apparently.
I'll be there.
Paul Fiscarelli, you be able to join us tonight? All right,
Cue the
crickets. There you go. All right, well, we're going to wrap up this episode of CoCoTALK. 3 hours now. It's a little after 5. But thank you all for being here. Thank you, very special thank you to Eric Crichlow for joining us, and to Kenzie for being here too. Hey, cutie. So, and hopefully you'll join us again in the future, Eric, both on Discord and on this show. You got an open invitation. Jump on anytime.
Definitely on Discord. We'll see about making it back here occasionally.
And let us know when more levels are available to the game and things like that, especially when you have an Android update, because then I'll get my hands on it.
We'll absolutely be announcing that, hopefully sooner rather than later.
All right. Well, I'm going to...
Let's remind everybody they got a few days left to vote for.
yeah, that's right. Voting for Glenside presidents, vice presidents, treasurer, secretary. What's the website for that?
Tandylist.com.
Tandylist.com, where you can vote for that. Also, I just want, speaking of Tandy, don't forget Tandy Assembly's coming up, so that's tandyassembly.com. We'll plug that a little bit more tonight. I actually got some stuff that Mike Rowan sent me, so I got some commercials and plugs for Tandy Assembly we can play later tonight. So tandylist.com is where you can vote for your next line of officers for the Glenside Color Computer Club.
Russia.gov.
Russia.gov. It's what's the word called? Collusion. So, right?
Yes.
So collusion.ru is another website you can go to. All right, guys, I'm going to cue the outro here, and we'll be back. We'll be back again tonight, hopefully, too. So stay tuned. This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live. If you love the color computer like we do, then visit IMACoconut.com for all your color computer links needs. Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, visit the Patreon link on our site at CoCoTalk.live. CoCoTalk would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Morentis, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Karen Anscombe, Simon Jonason, Wayne Campbell, Steve Batson, Brian Joyce, John Strong, and Barry Nelson. Special thanks to Seve Bjork for production suggestions and Brian Joyce for our best of episodes and bonus content. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its contributors. The CoCo Crew podcast at CoCoCrew.org. Glenside Color Computer Club, host of CoCo Fest at GlensideCCC.com. Jim Brain and Retro Innovations at go4retro.com. Tandy Assembly at TandyAssembly.com. Boyson Technologies at BOYSON.com. Get your own switcheroo at cocoman.biz and Cloud9 Technologies at cloud9tech.com. CoCoTALK is hosted by Steve Strobridge, co-hosts, technical directors, segment hosts, and producers Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Grant Leedy, Mark Overholzer, Ron Delvaux, and Jason Reichert. Production motivation, Steve Bjork. The CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Schalar. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. CoCo forever, people. And let's not forget a very special thank you to Roger Taylor for getting us on the CoCo TV channel on Roku.
Yeah, that should increase our audience by like 3.
Well, Ron Delvaux is one of them.
Yeah, there you go.
I got some other comments. So there was a few requests, Eric, for the CoCo TV, the Apple TV version of your game. Do you know if your game does work on Apple TV?
No, it would have to be specifically written for it. It could, but I would have to find someone with a whole lot more graphics talent than I do, because the sprites would have to be considerably bigger.
Ah.
So maybe
There
if
we
I
go.
find a person out there who can do some nice sprites for me, I could do that.
Yeah, and also Rick Adams was in the live chat. Rick's usually on the show, but he was worn out from lawn duty today. But he mentioned that he had given all his CoCo stuff to you, Eric, when he got out of the CoCo way back when. You were the recipient of the Rick Adams collection.
Yeah, I responded to him on Discord, actually.
Did you say something like this? Oh, soundboard's not working.
Why does that not surprise me?
Yes. In the live chat, we had Davey Mitchell, Nick Marotta, Rick Adams, Curtis Boyle, Jay Brevin, Rick Adams, Rob Inman was here. Solstice was here. Nick Marotta. Did I mention Nick Marotta in the live chat? Rick Adams, Chad Edward Cunnington was in here. Nick Marenti's neighbor. Paul Thayer was in the live chat. Rob Inman. Ken Reichard, best known as the brother of Jason Reichard, also hosting of the Can Make It YouTube channel, also maker of the over-the-top LED light show for the Mug of Douchery that we saw at CoCo Fest this year. Paul Thayer, Dr. X 0079 was in here. Did I mention Nick Marotta was in the live chat? Curtis Boyle was in the live chat. Davey Mitchell was here. Jay Brevin. Sheldon McDonald was here. He had a farm, I think, right? So EIEIO. Dr. X. Who else was in the live chat? All kinds of people in the live chat today. I think we peaked at I don't know, high 20s on our viewers, and so we're just taking the world by storm here. Richard Lorbieski in the live chat. Grant Leedy fell asleep apparently. Chris Peterson was here. So many people in the live chat. Al Hartman in the live chat. Chris Peterson in the live chat. I think we mentioned Nick Marotta, Richard Lorbieski, Nick Marotta. All right. And so good. A lot of people watched us today. Thank you for all who watched us.
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind. And thank you.
All right. So a little bit more outro here before we actually end the show.
Hi, this is Antonio Jimenez, author of such projects such as the Stevie Throw Devil and the SD Pack. And you're watching CoCoTALk. 3, 2, go.
I'm behind you making faces.
Okay.
Do you have a script?
You're rolling, Curtis. You say whatever the hell you want to say.
Well, give me some kind of guideline.
Hi, this is Curtis Boyle.
Hey, this is Eric, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
All right, we're rolling. You say whatever you want to say, David.
David.
Nation, world, sweetie. Weekly, any computer. Something like that.
Hi, I'm Tim. Playing Daggerith like that idiot from the book. You're watching CoCoTALk.
Thank you, David. Now get back up there for 1 second.
David
What?
Let's get some DriveWire, TTL, ESP.
No, we don't
Really,
need
Stevie?
TTL.
Really?
Hi, it's Curtis Boyle, part of the CoCoTALk crew of people.
Hi, we're on Elbow Timberman. To experience CoCo Fest, you must come. Do you need this? I brought the only working MC10. I could not get. Couldn't get a grant. By certain someone you know. Oh well.
The world's leading weekly CoCoTALk show. Yeah, something like that.
Hi, this is Rick Adams, and I'm the author of Temple of Brahm, Shanghai, and now Bomb Threat, and you're listening to Stevie Throw on CoCoTALk.
8-slot MPI, floppy drive, CoCo SDC, Sound Speech Pack, Orchestra 90, RS-232 Pack, Modem Pack, Super IDE. You start adding all those together if you want them all usable at the same time. Well, guess what? You just went over the 4-slot MPI.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was
David Ladd.
Really? Come on.
Yep. Yes, you're too kind. And thank you.
Oh, man. And by the way, Ron Delvaux showed off his
MC10.
Right.
Stevie, we're going to have to make sure that soundboard stops working.
What's that?
David Ladd.
kind.
All right, it's time to push the button in this one, Frank. We're going to sign off now.
Bye, everyone.
All right, so that's a wrap, and I just want to say in closing that...
That's all, folks.
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
See you later.
All
Good
right,
night, everyone.
we're
We'll
pressing
see
the
you
button.
tomorrow.
We'll see you tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. All right, guys. Take care for some more After Dark.
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind, and